fate is before you. Choose wisely.
Black men, what's your issue with black women? Why don't y'all treat us right?
What's even funnier is that she really looked back at this video and looked at all the responses that she's getting from this video and still thinks that what she's saying is completely sane. It's beyond me. Because listen, as a black man, I am obligated to protect the black women in my family and in my circle. How you feel about how you think black men feel about black women ain't got nothing to do with me or any other black men out here who are about our business. Miss, go get help. ASAP.
Like I work in finance. God bless, no, it's not by chance. Don't dab me, you're not my man. Don't at me, you're not my man. Mama said don't buy it if you cannot buy it twice. I cop by the tools and I don't pump fake with the price. Always on the grind, I put in work with all my might. I know that he got me, not by sight. I skirt like Vanish, I slide out Landish, beat up Benji, all black like Batman. Sit 4 days, that's for sure though. Grinding from the grip, no shame, take a photo. Time to take a trip, we head north to the border. Say you feeling up, I'm my favorite type of hoarder. I got kids to feed, I got enemies, I got guys give, so they envy me. Got some friends out Memphis like I'm Aubrey. Got some friends fought for orange like some autumn leaves. I skirt like Vanish, I slide out Landish, beat up Benji, all black like Batman. I skirt like Vanish, I slide out Landish, beat up Benji, all black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman.
Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Watch out for those who surround you, need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no. Need no snakes, no only homies down for show. Go. Get a book and get the front end, we load up and roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little need more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock hard waste, man, why you dumb? I'm with airline, we on airlines like we on the run. I'm with Tay, girls run up on me, they done. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line.
jolie, oh my jolie. Ah yeah, eh. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a main man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Snatch you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building a wall up, wall up. Lately you and I've been all love, all love. I don't know what's up with our love, our love. You forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie. Where are you when I need you the most? You still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something. Now you talking, telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. You don't turn on me now. You don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, yo, wall up. You can't even get the scores up for us. I don't know what's up with our love, you forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie. Where you been when I need you the most? You still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. This is called your bluffing. Made you something, now you talking. I call you bluff. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. Yeah, this is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something. Now you talking, telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Cool it off. I don't know how to cool it off. My jolie, oh my jolie.
I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grabbed my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bad face. Now he's got a L behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I bow down to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught
caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you.
All right, guys, we're about to start this show as we have with us again my special guest, Averi Woodley, as we talk about the dynamics associated with black male worship, love, honor, and respect. I want you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. It's Averi Woodley and I talk about the dynamics associated with the fallacy of black male worship. And if black male worship is a fallacy, how should we respond in modern times when it appears that love, honor, and respect appears to be a vestige of the past? Get your pens and paper ready. We're about to do it. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles.
I can't hear you.
I'm struggle streaming.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? All right, Miss Woodley, how you doing, dear? What's going on?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm hearing you loud and clear, man. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And I know we had some technical difficulties the last time, but it's an honor to have you back on the show as we continue to look at the issues and dynamics that's impacting relationships with black men and black women. I want you to tell the audience who you are and how you evolved as a woman.
What's up, audience? My name is Averi Woodley. I'm a personal coach. I am a trainer. I'm a mom. I am all of those things. So, evolved as a woman, it's just like I've said before, I went through a lot of things in my personal life. And I got to a point where I was like, I can't constantly blame other people. And I decided to really sit myself down and take a look in the mirror. So I am one black woman, like many have said, that actually tries to hold herself accountable. And I know it seems like a joke that we don't do it, and we really don't. Women in general, we don't hold ourselves accountable. But in order for me to change and to evolve into the woman who I was created to be, that has ultimately always been my goal, I could not do that without looking inside of myself and seeing what areas I needed to work on and what areas I was already, strong in, but overall just to develop into the woman that I was created to be. It's an everyday journey. It is an everyday journey. It is an everyday process. I will never truly get there, but that is the goal. Each day I wake up to become a better woman for myself, for my clients, for those that are out there watching, to be an example for my sons and for my daughter and for myself.
No doubt, excellent answer. We talk about, Ms. Woodley, the dynamics associated with a lot of relationships, and I think a lot of it is devoid of self-awareness, but also in the clinical world, we call it thinking errors. Based on that tenet of thinking errors, is the concept of black male worship a fallacy in your opinion? If it is a fallacy, I want you to tell the audience why.
So here's the thing. I don't even know where this whole concept, because we don't have black woman worship, where this came from. I feel when it comes to love, honor, and respect, that is something that black men need and deserve, and that we should give.
Right.
That's ultimately where I stand. I don't think that there is, if we love, honor, and respect our men, if we love, honor, and respect you all, I don't necessarily, why is that considered worship? To me, it's the way that you should be, it's the way that you should be treated. It's the way that we should treat our kings, our brothers, the men in our lives. If we do love and honor and respect them, and we need them. And then honestly, we want it, right? We want it as women. We want it as people. I don't understand where this whole, worship thing came from. I honestly do not think that black men are worshipped, in my opinion, at all. I don't think that at all. I think that you all do need more love. You do need more respect, and you do need more honor. If anything, I feel that it is lacking.
Wow.
Amongst a lot of us. I think that you guys are kind of like operating in a deficit. A lot of black men are operating in a deficit. And for us to get behind you and treat you the way that you should be treated, I don't think that it should be labeled as worship or anything like that, because to me, we are far from worshiping you all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mr. Woodley, 1,000%. I think we are far from being worshiped. But I think because we don't see the presence of black men in the homes and the families and the communities for a variety of reasons. Some will argue has been the manifestation of some of our women, not all, but a percentage of our women. I'm trying to minimize the importance of men and families, but also jousting for power in the relationship, because they want to be the ones to dictate and run the family, similar to what I call the spirit of the hyena. You have a hyena spirit. It's a very matriarchal spirit that seeks to subvert the authority and the power of men. But you talked about black love or black male worship being a fallacy. Then again, if black male love or black male worship is a fallacy, are black men or modern men in general, white or black, loved properly in your opinion? And if they're not loved properly, where did this the evolution start? When did it start in your opinion?
I in the home. I think it started, like you said, in the home. You had the little hyena thing. To me, we have a lot of black women who want to be the black men, right? We have a lot of black women who want to be the black men, and they have taken on that role. And as if they have taken on that role, that is where the breakdown happened, when we stopped loving the black man, when we stopped respecting the black man, and we stopped honoring the black man, because we didn't see a need for him, whether he was in the home, present in the home or not. If you're in a situation where, there wasn't a black man present in the home, and a lot of hurt, a lot of resentment, and a lot of hate has become bred, and that's what's been passed down, then it's like, okay, we don't need the black man. I can be the black man. I can do it by myself. I can take care of these kids on my own. I can take care of this family on my own. I can do everything on my own, and there is no need for the black man. If you don't see a need for the black man, then there's no reason to love him. There's no reason to honor him. There's no reason to respect him. The breakdown and the evolution of it, to me, definitely 100% started in everything. To me, a lot of it starts in the home. It starts in the home, but it also starts in the hearts. It has started in the broken hearts of black women who have been hurt by black men, whether it was their father, a relationship, or anything. And for those that could not move on, who could not forgive, and who could not see that all black men are not like that, it has taken root and created this whole thing, and has spread like wildfire.
I totally agree. I think some of it's rebellion, but also, Ms. Woodley, I think it's a byproduct of vicarious trauma. Gregory Scotland asked a question, and I think you got a good answer for it. He said that, hi, Coach, please ask Ms. Woodley her opinion on why a number of black women get attacked in the manosphere for simply saying encouraging things about black men. And I think that goes back to this nebulous, but also very, how can I say, defunct thinking that anytime a woman say anything associated with the love or adulation of a black man is always or sometimes encapsulated under the fallacy of a black male worship. So how would you respond to that question?
I mean, no, it's true. I get attacked for being, for loving black men and just being, encouragers behind you guys. Whether it is, and not to bring this up, Mr. Samuels that passed away, rest in peace, or just anything, it's kind of like, why are you taking their side?
Right.
Why are you going for them? Why are you rooting for them? Why do you have their back? Why do you say same team? Why do you say that we need to lift our men up? And why do I always have something to say to encourage and motivate and show my love and support for black men? One, because they need it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You all need it. And because so many spaces have been created for women, and especially black women now, where we have spaces where it's safe for us to be able to open up and, a safe space for us to be able to express ourselves and love ourselves and this, and this. We have safe spaces at every corner, right? And I'm not saying that we don't need it, but if we're getting it, then how come you guys can't get it? And that's why that's my problem, is that if we're going to lift up black women and if we're going to lift up women in general, then when do we feel the need that we have to drop one side in order to bring the other one up? How come you can't bring up the black man and have space for him and love for him and publicly support him and have movements for him as well, just like you do for the black women or for other women?
I totally agree with you 1,000%. Shout out to my man, Brotherly Love, for that $10 super sticker, and that is a deal, right?
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Fire topic.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right?
We want to bring balance to the force, Ms. Woodley, as it relates to some of the issues associated with the fallacies of black men, because not only black men, all men need love and adulation, but it appears that in the West that we've been conditioned as men, Ms. Woodley, to understand what's important for her and what she wants, but we haven't been adequately prepared to more or less talk about what that man wants. Michael Jackson said it back in the 2000s or the 90s. He said that they don't really care about us. And he was talking about the injustices of what was going on in Brazil at the time. Mm-hmm. But many men in modern times feel like there's a percentage of modern women that don't really care about them as well. And because of that, what men are saying is that they're not getting their needs met. It's become more or less what I call a condition called affection deprivation. And that affection deprivation has led some men to be inward and not be the better versions of themselves. I've always said before in the past that when you uplift your man, a righteous man, I'm not talking about a man that's inadequate, a man that's not doing what he's supposed to do. I'm not talking about leeches, bums, goofballs, I'm talking about men that are on purpose. They're good men, they're decent guys. They're not perfect like you're not perfect, like I'm not perfect. But they have some intrinsic worth, and they're trying to spread that intrinsic worth not only in this faltering and failing community that we have, because I think the black community is dead, and I think it's going to take a Herculean effort to bring it back into fruition. But more or less, Ms. Woodley, anything associated with exonerating or showing men love is often mired in obscurity. And I think you said something that was very powerful. It's being mired in obscurity, or more or less obfuscated, because it's a byproduct of vicarious trauma. And what they do, it's a thinking error called overgeneralization, where they overgeneralize the importance of their trauma, and they minimize the importance of a man getting his needs met, which in essence makes his needs minimized, and it makes her needs magnified. And what happens a lot of times when you hear men speaking, and sometimes their language sounds very vitriolic, it's about more or less they feel like they haven't been heard. Anytime they try to convey or say what they believe in and love, a lot of times it's met under silence. What's your take on that?
100% true. And I'm just going, like I've said before, I will put myself on the chopping block, because I have been in that situation in the past as well, when it was more like, and the only way you can stop it is either you have to listen and hear what the other person's saying when they're like, wait a minute. I'm not trying to take away from your feelings, but what I'm telling you is that this is what I need. This is what I'm not getting. So I have been in that situation myself to where I was like, wait a minute. I haven't taken the time out to hear you, because I was all, not even in my feelings, but like you said, our feelings and what we need is maximized and what men need is minimized, right? And like we're supposed to have all of our needs met, and you guys are just supposed to kind of just wait it out or whatever and figure it out on your own. And that is not fair. So I have definitely been in that situation. And it's true. And like you said, it's the trauma, but then it's also the world we live in the society, and everything is basically, coddling. I feel like we coddle women, it's like your feelings, your self-love, your journey, your worth, adjust your crown. What do you need? What are you missing? How can we do all of this for you? And then because you're so important and you're so worthy, and then it's just kind of like men are supposed to fend for themselves, and like you guys don't do anything.
Right.
But you have men that are pouring from an empty cup as well. It's not one-sided. Like I tell people, like self-care, self-love, all that, adjusting your crown, setting boundaries, and all of that. It's not just for women. It's for human. It's for any human.
Right. It's for any human being. Yes,
trying
ma'am.
to thrive and progress in life.
Right.
So when it comes to men, I'm like, no, adjust your crown, know your worth, and everything like that. And we do, as women, we have to realize that it's not all about us, and I know easier said than done, and it can be uncomfortable, but there's times, like I said, that they, I've had somebody be like, no, wait, this is what I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to tell you. And I feel like you're not hearing me whenever I come to you, or I feel like you get defensive if I say X, Y, and Z. But it takes a mature person and a person who is used to introspection to sit back and be like, dang, you know what? You're right. What can I do for you? I'm sorry that you feel that way. How can we move on from that?
Right.
And a lot of women, I'm just saying, a lot of women don't want to do it. And why should they? They honestly feel like, why should they? Because the people that they surround themselves with aren't going to tell them to do it. The songs that they listen to aren't going to tell them to do it. The shows that they watch aren't going to tell them to do it. The women empowerment groups aren't going to tell them to do it. You know what I'm saying? Right. So until they get in a relationship with a good man who gets to the point where he's like, no, you know what? Now I'm going to adjust my crown. Now I'm going to set some boundaries and I'm done with you. Then they're sitting up and they're like, wait a minute. And by that point, it may be too late.
It's too late, no doubt. And you're right. That's why I had the crown on. You see me on the thumbnail with the crown on, because men need to start loving themselves. And just like they say they need to adjust their crown, I think men are beginning to adjust their crown, Mrs. Woodley. They're beginning to love themselves. They're beginning to see that they have inherent self-worth. And they're beginning to say to some of these modern women that, bringing the vagina to the table is nothing. You got to give me more than that. I need to make sure that you are willing to protect my ego as a man, because I can't become the better version for you or my family if I'm not protected mentally as a man. And we tend to minimize the importance of male mental health, Ms. Woodley. And we're going to talk about what love, honor, and respect looks like from a mental perspective. But let's make this a little personal. You have a son. Why do you think it's so important that your son be raised in an environment where masculinity is aggrandized in a healthy form? We're not talking about masculinity just because he's a man, but we're saying for the sake of a man putting in and filling her cup as she's filling his cup. Why is that so important for you? Because you do have a son, and he is coming up in a culture that's very toxic and very caustic. But what say you about that?
I mean, I think it's important because we are in a society and in a world that I feel has forgotten about the man, right? And anything that is associated with the man and the masculine, a lot of it is deemed negative or toxic masculinity and all of that kind of stuff. So it is important for me to tell my sons and for them to know from their fathers and from the other men who they are. You know what I'm saying? And that no mistake was made, and that they are not less important than any woman, and that them being a man is not that just being a man, there's nothing wrong with that. It is a beautiful thing. Masculinity is a beautiful thing. And for them to know what it is, and for them to be able to walk in it and understand who they are at the core, because it is an important part of who they are. I don't want the world to tell them who they are and who they are not. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the world to tell them that they are bad and to label them and to do all these overgeneralizations, because I'm already raising, young Black men in general, right? So they already have to face that and deal with that. But it's important, just like it's important for our daughters to know who they are and to speak life into them and to do all these things. It is just important, for my boys that I'm bringing up and for my sons to know that not only from their fathers, but from a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, they need to know from a woman their worth, because they're going to face so many. They're going to be like, you know, you're nothing, you're this. And I'm like, no. Before they walk out of these doors and enter the world and join into the workforce and colleges and relationships and all of that, it is important, one, for them to be connected to their masculinity and to know that there is nothing wrong with it. If they live in a world that is telling them that men are bad and masculinity is toxic, I am telling them the exact opposite. And we are showing them the exact opposite, because that's what's going to keep them, you know, that's what's going to keep them grounded mentally. You know, it's a spiritual thing too. Like, there was no mistake made when they were created. There was no mistake made. It's not just a physical thing. It's mind, body, and soul. So I want them to be tapped into that. Just like I'm tapped, you know, just like I had to make sure I'm tapped into my feminine. I want my daughter to be tapped into hers. My men need to be connected to that and need to know the importance of it.
No doubt. I agree with your sister 1,000%. Shout out to my man Top Gun for that $5 super sticker. He said it feels good to at least hear one woman not boomerang it around to be a man on every topic. I fully approve of message. You may proceed, you goofy man. Shout out to my man Daryl J. He said, I'm inspired by another man. I'm not trying to be a woman. And Taylor Josh said that Black male actualization, there are a few institutions designed to support the practice of the highest ideas. I think it's important that Black men begin to self-actualize, to know what their worth is and how they can be their higher self, not only from a religious context or a spiritual context, but also from a social context. And as a licensed clinical therapist, Ms. Willie, I do these shows to empower men, particularly Black men, because there is a deficit as it relates to the struggles that Black men have. And I think that when we minimize the stories about men and we don't hear them succinctly, it becomes an inner void that can lead to brokenness. I've said before in the past that a broken man is a hopeless man. Yeah. When a man becomes hopeless, Ms. Willie, he can become dangerous. But then we become reactive when that man acts out in a very aggressive and violent way. But we didn't look at the pathologies that were existing beforehand to help reduce the issues associated with that man. Now listen, guys, to the 26 that are watching, go check out my sister Averi Woodley. Let's get these likes up. Averi is an awesome person. I love her work. I love what she's trying to do. Please share the content with as many people as possible. If you don't have any money, just share the content. That's money for me. So share the content. Let's get this stream popping, because what Ms. Willie is saying is very important, and we need to make sure we hear and understand and come up with viable solutions to become better versions of ourselves. Many times, Ms. Willie, we say that love for a man is manifest in honor and respect. Mm-hmm. And I think that the love language for a man is totally different than the love language for a woman. The love language for a woman is symmetrical to feelings. It's more insular, it's more eros love. That's why I tell women they can get caught up on the eros of a man, because eros is fleeting. I said last night on the show that duty is more important. When a woman can adequately control her feelings, then she's ready for the duty of being a wife. Because see, when a woman can love her man more than she loves her feelings, then she's more adequately prepared to love her man. But when she loves her feelings more than the mission of being a wife, then she's not quite fit to more or less rise up to the vibration of being a very feminine woman. What's your take on that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, because your feelings can get in the way. You know what I'm saying? Your feeling, to me, when it comes to, you know, women and our feelings, to me, a lot of it will be, oh, that's just how I feel. But it's also an ego thing, right? Like, our feelings can be tied to our ego, and that gets in the way, to me, like you said, that is what gets in the way of being able to be a wife, because you cannot be a wife. You cannot fully connect to your feminine and become the woman you're supposed to when your feelings are in the way, when your ego is in the way, whether it's pride and everything like that, because it makes you very self-centered. You know what I'm saying? You're selfish. Kids are selfish. Little girls are selfish. You know what I'm saying? A woman cannot be selfish. A wife there's no room as a wife to be selfish. And there's no room as a wife to lead. You cannot lead in your feelings, because there's going to come many times where it's not that your feelings don't matter, but they don't matter to an extent. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to set them aside and see the bigger picture and do what you need to do for the greater good. You can't just stop the marriage or stop something and be like, cater to me, cater to my feelings and my needs only.
Right. I totally agree. You know, and Destiny's Child was excoriated for their famous song in the past where they bellowed the sentiment, cater to you. And anytime we talk about catering to men and catering to the needs of a man, it's always met under scrutiny. I actually did a show on that in my early inception on YouTube, talking about cater to you. And anytime men are catered to in any form, it's always deemed bad. But I think, as I said earlier, that many of these pathologies that you're seeing, Miss Woodley, is a byproduct of brokenness that has not been healed. Brokenness is more or less based on unaccountability in many ways, because as I tell clients in therapy, denial is the antecedent to not understanding the things that you're struggling with. And you can never heal 100% if you're in a state of denial. So we always say in therapy, shout out to my man Black Ram, that we don't lie in therapy, because you can't become the better version of yourself if you're lying to yourself. Teddy Pendergrass said it better than me. He said you can't hide from yourself. And you can't become the better version of yourself if you're trying to hide from the things that will stop you from being the best person in the first place. Let's look at the ideals and also the definition, Ms. Woodley, of love, because I think a lot of people don't understand what love is in its truest form. And we know that there are different forms of love, but let's look at the concept of love as it relates to honor and respect, because I think that's the love that most men need. Respect, the definition of respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by abilities, quality, or achievement. The director had a lot of respect for Douglas as an actor: esteem, regard, acclaim, admiration, approval, appreciation, estimation, favor, popularity, recognition, veneration. And I think that word veneration is very powerful. Reverence, deference, honor, praise, and homage. Also, it says due to regards to people's wishes or traditions of others. Why is respect so valid or so needed element as it relates to helping men become healthy, not only in relationships, but also with the women that they love? Why do you think that respect is so important? Because I think that respect is a love language that most men crave the most. When a woman can adequately respect her man, then that's love for a man. But why do you think that's so important, Ms. Woodley? And
okay, so that's what I was getting ready to say. To me, the way to love a man, like me loving a man, is respecting him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's other ways to love a man, but for respect is huge. It's to me, without it. And I've told somebody before, I was like, if you lose respect for a man, that's when you know you need to leave the relationship. Because it's going to go, you cannot be with a man and you do not respect him. You will not be able to have a healthy relationship, because that's like not loving him. That's how, men hold, it's high. A man wants to be respected, especially from his woman, especially at home. They don't want to be disrespected at home, especially, and I'm talking, the good ones, like, the ones that are upstanding. They don't want to have to go out and face the world, and then they come home and they're disrespected, Right. They're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to go out here and keep myself safe, keep you safe, keep the children safe if you have children, provide, do all of these things, carry the load of everything, even if the woman's working or not working. But everything, honestly, a lot of times does fall on the shoulders of a man in those types of relationships. Right. And to not be respected, to be able to look at your woman and she doesn't respect you, that's like a man going up to a woman and saying, I don't love you. You know what I'm saying? And not meeting her needs at all. If a man is not, to me, it is everything in a relationship. It's right. It's like one of the number one things that a man needs is to be respected. That's how he feels love. That's one of the main ways he feels love.
Right. I totally agree. And I think so many of our women are devoid of understanding that. And many times, Ms. Woodley, they minimize the importance of that, because the man's love language is not predicated on the feelings of love, but it's predicated on the action of love, which is more or less showing him respect by having dominion over your emotions, which is a true sign that you love a man. There's another concept, Ms. Woodley, called honor. What does honor mean to you? When you think of honor in its purest sense, what does that mean to you?
To me, honor means, it's kind of like everything. I know people separate loyalty and all of that, but to me, when you honor somebody, it's everything you do, right? So to me, as a woman, if I am honoring my husband or, my man, it's going to be how I carry myself in public, in private, the way I talk, the way I dress, the way I tend to his needs, everything. It's me showing that I honor not only him, but our relationship and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build in our home. And that I'm also honoring myself because we are, because we're connected and we're one. So it's doing everything that I can through love, respect, loyalty to him and to myself to make sure that he is on solid ground when he's around me and that I have created a space, you know what I'm saying? A space for him, whether it's in our home, in my heart, and just in my presence, to where he is getting everything that he needs. You know what I'm saying? He's getting everything that he needs for himself, but so he can continue to go out and do what he needs to do for the relationship and for the home, so he can operate and thrive at his highest level as well. But to me, honor is like everything encompassed. You know what I'm saying? But it's also, I have seen people that I believe have dishonored their man and their relationship by how they carry themselves, just, outside of the home and just in general. Like they're doing a disservice to him. So I think it's also how we carry ourselves as women and how we uphold ourselves, like I said, in public and in private, whether we're amongst our girlfriends, we're on social media, we're talking about our men, we're talking to our sons, how we speak, everything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. According to the definition, honor is high respect, great esteem, distinction, privilege, glory, tribute, kudos, honesty, uprightness, ethics, and morals. And I think when women have a high level of veneration for their men and honor, if the man is a good man, they're going to begin to see that man manifest and give that woman and also those children more. But I think our women have not adequately learned how to love and honor a man. And because of that, so many men have been conditioned to accept less. They continue to go through cycles of brokenness when they never see self-actualization of masculinity in its purest form. Shout out to my man XL Pro for that $5 cash app. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. Miss Wood, I want to ask you a question. Let's talk about loving a man the proper way. What did you learn about the proper way to love a man? Meaning, what did you learn before the fact, and what did you learn after the fact?
Before the fact, I don't think I really knew. I knew about respect, just, from my father. But honestly, like, I never knew how to love a man.
Oh, wow.
To me, it was through respecting him. It was through, like when I got married, right? If he had an idea and he was like, hey, we're going to start this business, and he had a vision and he had all these things, to me, it was like, okay, as your wife, I married you. I'm going to submit to your plan. I'm going to submit to your vision. Ultimately, your vision, if it was God's vision, and do what I'm supposed to do as a wife, so we can bring this thing forward and, and birth it. But honestly, I had no idea other than that. That's the only thing I knew. I knew how to be loyal. I knew how to, like I said, submit to the vision and to do all of those things. But as a woman, I didn't know any other way on how to love a man outside of saying, like, yes, I got your back, you know what I'm saying? And I got these kids, and that's it.
Right.
And it took, you know what I'm saying, trial and error. It took me realizing that men wanted to be needed. They want to feel needed. They need to hear certain things. They need the affection. They need the intimacy. And I'm not talking about just the act of intercourse, right?
Right.
But they want to know that their woman needs them, that she misses them, and all that kind of. I had no clue about any of that. I'm like, wait a minute. I do love you. You know what I'm saying? I do love you because I'm here. I'm dealing with these kids. I'm helping with the business. I'm praying for you. I'm fasting for you. I'm doing this. Like, that's the only way I knew how to show my love. I knew how to show my love, but that's also because I was disconnected. I think I said this before. I was disconnected from my feminine, right? So there was a whole part of me. I wasn't able to love a man at one point the way he needed to be loved because I wasn't even open to the idea of it. My heart wasn't opened. I didn't feel comfortable being vulnerable, right? Because the world we live in, a lot of the things it takes for a woman to honestly love a man we are told are the things that make us weak. You know, we're constantly told that we need to be empowered, that we shouldn't be affectionate, that we shouldn't do this, that we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't let our guard down because here comes the evil man and he's going to hurt us. You know what I'm saying? And to keep your guard up. And, you know, I had this fortress like around my heart. So yes, I was able to do some things, but I was not able to fully open myself up as a woman to my then husband or to any man when I was at that stage in my life, because I wasn't open to myself. I was completely disconnected and completely closed off. And then, like I said, through trial and error, like the one with the alabaster box, once it broke open and I was able to connect to that, I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? This is what being a woman feels like.
Boom,
oh,
good job.
This is what a man needs. You know what I'm saying? But now I had it to give. I couldn't pour out. I couldn't let it flow out because I was holding it in and I was scared to let it out. You can't be a woman and love a man if you're scared to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? If you're scared to open up, it's a whole trust thing. And yes, you may get hurt, but you may not. But it's a part of life.
It's part of life, right. You can't live life walking in fear. But I think for men, the whole nebulous concept of love becomes even more dangerous to the psyche of a man, because men by nature are not emotional. And when we do fall in love, and that's why I tell men they should love within reason, but never fall. It can be very dangerous. It can be very dangerous to men when they allow themselves to get emotional with a woman. That's why I said in the show last night that your loyalty is his royalty. Being loyal to a man is what makes him feel royal. But, you know, Chris Brown made a song back in the past. And he said, they ain't loyal. You know what I'm talking about. He said, these 304s ain't loyal. And, you know, I had never heard the song, but I listened to it. This song was lit, man, because a lot of them are not loyal. Because, see, you saw the work that Kevin Samuels did. I've said before in the past, you don't have to agree 100%, or I didn't agree 100%, but I like a lot of it. I agree more with what the man said than I disagree with what he said. But the problem with what he said in many times, in many forms, I think it went on deaf ears with a lot of women because they missed the message and they missed the context. You know, could he have been polished, a little bit more polished sometime in his deliveries, perhaps, and based on the context. But, you know, what I've learned a lot of times, you know, there are times when Kevin will match fire with fire. You know, you can't berate a man and then expect him to be docile and passive. But then when he would more or less meet their aggression, then all of a sudden it was an issue. And I think many are not used to seeing masculinity in its fullest form. And because they're not used to seeing it in its fullest form, when men begin to more or less manifest it, then becomes an issue. But you know, he went through a lot. Went through a lot of disdain, because I think that anything associated with men being empowered is ultimate under the microscope of scrutiny. But before we move forward, shout out to my man Top Gun. And that is a deal, right?
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
He said that
that's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
It is a deal, right? But Top Gun said, Miss Willie, he said, I would like to know the guest's opinion on the making a woman feel comfortable in her femininity talk. That's a lot of talk of women who preach dark femininity. So basically what I think Top Gun is saying is this. Some women believe in the fallacy, and I say, or the presumption that a woman can only be feminine unless she's resting in her femininity, meaning, you know, the man is providing, he got a home and all this good stuff. And I would say in theory that's true, and I'm going to tell you why from a sin perspective, but in theory that's true. But that's like saying, a man saying that I can't protect a woman across the street because I don't feel comfortable in my masculinity. I can't pay these bills because I don't feel comfortable in my masculinity. I can't defend this home because I don't feel comfortable in my masculinity. I can't make more money because I don't feel comfortable in my masculinity. I've always said before in the past that the masculine is doing and the feminine is being. And when they're actually operating together, it's a very powerful synchronicity. The masculine is doing. That's why men a lot of times give their servitude for free. But I'm telling men, and I also want your son to know, don't give your servitude free to women that have not more or less earned it. In behavior modification, positive reinforcement begets positive reinforcement. But if she's getting her needs met and he's not getting his needs met, then it's positive reinforcement for her Miss Woodley, but it's very negative for him. Many men have begun to negatively reinforce bad behavior, which in essence is a byproduct of enablement. And so I think what Top Gun is saying is that, what's your take on these women that actually bellow the sentiment, well, I can't be feminine because he don't have a home, or he's not doing X, Y, Z. And the reason why I say it's a fallacy, if you believe in theology, the gospel talks about in the millennial kingdom where Christ will rule for 1,000 years. And even in that 1,000-year reign, they're in a perfect environment with a perfect creator. But guess what? After 1,000 years, guess what? They're going to rebel. So my whole point is, you can take a pig and put you can take a pig and put a pig in a dress. You can put lipstick on a pig, and you can put perfume on a pig, but it's still a damn pig at the end of the day. And so my whole point is, we all have a dark nature, men and women, me, you. It is part of our nature. We're sinful. And so, sure that there are some women that will rise up to the mantle of femininity if that man put her in a good environment. But environment alone does not guarantee, Ms. Woodley, that woman is going to be feminine. It don't. Many times it just shows the more darker side of her nature and the more darker side of her characteristics. What say you about that?
I agree. I don't think femininity is something that is necessarily conditioned. That is something that is conditional, like you said. A man can't say like, oh, I don't want to do, I'm not feeling this, so I'm not feeling you, so I'm not going to be, a provider, or I'm not going to go to work because you don't make me feel this way or that way. I feel that if you are really going to be feminine or masculine and be tapped into your feminine energy, it is something that you can be able to do in any environment because it comes from within, right? So I started working on connecting to my femininity when I was sitting in a space by myself, right? And I could hear, I was almost like in isolation. I could hear for myself. It wasn't like, oh, here comes a masculine man, here comes an alpha man. Let me real quick try to tap into my femininity, because to me, when women do it that way, that's what I believe is toxic. I believe it's manipulative if you're going to flip it on just because you're in the space of, of somebody, and then you're going to turn it off. Because being connected to your feminine energy is really for yourself as well. It's like being a part, it's your core, right? It's your essence. When I was disconnected from mine, just going about my day something was always off, right? Because I was doing. And no, we both have, we have both in us, but I didn't know how to disconnect from my masculine. And it threw everything off with me, not even just relationships. Just like I said, the regular flow of my life. I was never able to rest. I was never able to, feel safe. My spirit was disrupted. My health was disrupted, all types of things. So I think that, being connected to your feminine is something that that women need to be connected to regardless. Like, it doesn't matter. You cannot just say, oh, I want that man, over there across the street. He's an alpha man. He's this or he's that. He's in his masculine. Let me turn it on, because like I said, that's a fluke. And those are the ones that to me operate in the dark, more or less, and they use it as a manipulation tactic than really being genuine and trying to connect to their feminine. You cannot heal without being connected to your feminine. You cannot love without being connected to your feminine. You cannot do a lot of things as a woman without being connected to your feminine.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think once our women understand that they're going to start seeing things from a different perspective. Shout out to my man, Snuggles. Snuggles funny. Snuggles said, drop the link in these got jokes. Brittany B said that it hurts more to try to be something you aren't. It's a beautiful feeling to let go and be free. I totally agree. Luke K said, those calling respect and love for significant others worship are often broken on the inside. I agree with that 1,000% too. Somebody just sent me a PayPal. I don't know who it is. Let me hold tight. So let me see. Hold tight. But anyway, I'll get to it in a minute. I'm trying to do everything in 1 minute. Taylor said that love plus fear equals respect. Love minus fear equals no respect for mother. Fear minus love equals no respect from the father. What's your take on that, Ms. Woodley?
Let me see. Love and fear equals respect. Love minus fear. No respect from mother. Fear minus love. Oh, you know what? That's kind of true. So I was reading it. Sorry, guys. That's funny because I was afraid of my father. And not, but it was a respect thing, right? It was a respect thing. He didn't do anything to like instill fear. It was just his presence and everything. He didn't talk a lot. But when he said something, you knew like, hey, you know, he'd be like, Avery, don't go out. When you go outside, you represent me. You know what I'm saying? Don't embarrass me. Right. Don't do anything to dishonor our name and my name. And I'd be like, hadn't even done anything, you know, but it was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to disrespect him. I don't want to disappoint him. I don't want to let him down. And that's true. Even with, you know, my children, when I see other fathers, we've talked about that. Like I have a friend, he was like, hey, like, you know, their mother used to be like, oh, they're afraid of you. They're afraid of you. And he was like, no, these are my boys. They're going to learn to respect me. This is how they love me. Right. But also when they see me, they're run, you know, at their sporting events, they run up to me, they put their arms around my neck and they're happy that their dad is there. But they know, he was like, I'm the man in their life and I'm setting the tone. He was like, so they need to be afraid of me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? In a healthy way. So when it comes to it, and I'm shaping them as young men, they know that I don't play and they can hear my voice, whether they're away from me or not. They're like, hey, what would my dad do? You know what I'm saying? Like, what would my dad do and all that kind of stuff. So I actually agree with that.
Right. Men, you know, there's a healthy level of fear called reverence, yes. Just like in theology. The reverence of your fathers, it's not this, it's a petrifying fear, yes. But it's a healthy kind of fear. Like, okay, if I don't step it up, I'm going to get in trouble. And because I have a healthy fear for my mother and my father, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to show you this clip real quick, Ms. Woodley. I want you to break it down from your, break it down mentally and tell me what you think about some of these pathologies in modern women.
And it's difficult to learn to live alone. It's difficult because I'm difficult. I'm not easy to live with. You know, you have 3 or 4 choices here that will give you a terrible day or a wonderful day. And there's no one else to blame except you. Because you're here alone. You can't say he did this or he did that. It's all you. And you don't seem to want to make yourself extremely happy the way you wanted other people to come along to make you extremely happy. Nobody can make you extremely happy but you. I was an old lady before I understood that.
With you on why I'm leaving this side of it, because the expectations are so unrealistic. Because you can't have expectations like that and no preparation. You don't even study men. Like how do you want a man and you don't study even how to talk to a man? You don't even study, you know, how men process. You don't even study so
much ego and pride. There's nothing. It's just they demand these traditional, like I said, traditional men, but they want to be modern and wonder why they're not attracting certain men. Like they're barely.
You women don't have any problems expressing yourself when it's something negative to a male. But let a woman come up here and we have to have a real talk moment. All of a sudden, I don't like this show because I feel low. You don't like this show because your ass don't want to take direct criticism. And you know what? That's why your ass is going to be watching me as long as I do the show. And you ain't going to get a man because you...
Last year and the beginning of this year, I stopped matchmaking. And the reason I stopped matchmaking is because I literally was I can't handle female clients. I was a matchmaker that matched females. And I had a few male clients, but predominantly I was matching women. And listen, it was such a valuable lesson for me because what I learned is that the average woman doesn't really want just a good man. She doesn't want a husband. What she's really wanting are these standards or ideas that she has of what a man is supposed to be. But this is nothing what men are. This is not realistic for who men are, how they think, what they value. It's just this preconceived, idea that women have of who men should be. But this is not reality, okay? So literally, the standards here that I see consistently in women that stay single, do not get married, and the difference between women and wives is understanding, one, that men are not women. He's not going to be your best friend like your best girlfriend. You can't talk to him like that. They don't talk like that. They don't talk that much. They're not so sensitive and girly the way we.
So Let me say this, Ms. Willie. Some of those women, I don't necessarily agree with them. I think many of them, as some of the people in the comments have said, have actually flip-flopped over the past. But just for the sake of argument, even though I don't necessarily agree with some of the methodologies, but the lack of self-awareness has caused any allegation associated with black men is black male worship. Shout out to my man Jay Olerod. Thank you, brother. And that's a deal, right?
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
PayPal, brother. I really appreciate that.
Right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal,
I appreciate
right?
it 1,000%. And to the 31 that are watching, I want you guys to get this stream up to as many as possible because you have a very talented, but also a young lady that's very self-aware. But once again, back to point. The lack of self-awareness has caused anything associated with masculinity and what men want to be deified as black male worship. When you hear this woman saying that nobody can make you happy, I think that was, I can't think of her name. She's an actress. I can't think of her name, but I think it's Diane Carroll, I believe. And then when you hear April Mason, Melanie King, and I can't think of the other lady's name, more or less pontificate their points about these extraneous wants that so many of our women have. What was germinating in your mind about the pathologies of and the lack of self-awareness with so many of our modern women?
I'm trying to choose my words wisely because I can come off very harsh. And as I was watching the clips, I was making sure, because I've seen some of them before and I don't know everything, like you said, about their ideologies. But one thing is that women are very self-centered and we feel that the world revolves around us and that we are the end all and be all. We sit high and we look low, that there is only a need for us and only our needs need to be met. Only our feelings matter. And like I said, it still goes back to women being told as they grow up, whether it's from their mothers, their aunts, the church ladies, whoever, right? Whatever women are, are in their life and are representing them and letting them know, they're not teaching them the value of a man. They're not showing them that there is a need for men. They're not showing them that men need to be cared for and, loved, that their mental health matters, that their spiritual health matters, that their physical health matters, anything like that. So when we get with these men, it's just take, right?
Take, right.
It's take. And it's almost impossible for a lot of women to stop and be like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? What am I bringing besides what's between my legs?
Right.
What am I bringing to the table? And I've had these conversations. You know what I'm saying? I've had these uncomfortable conversations. And that's where a woman who has sat with herself, who does sit with herself, is like, wait a minute, what am I doing for him? Can he talk to me about work? Can he talk to me about this? Does he feel comfortable around me? Does he feel loved? Is he getting the deals done? Is he able to operate at his highest self when he's with me? Or is he struggling with me? You know what I'm saying? Because a man shouldn't, if you're doing what you're supposed to, yeah, he may have, things going on at work, but he shouldn't be struggling.
Right.
With you. Because if a woman is with a man and she's struggling, what do we tell her to do?
Leave.
Right. You know what I'm saying? If you are not happy, if you feel like you're compromising yourself, girl, you need to leave him. Right. So we get in these situations, but it's become the norm.
Right.
For the man to be unhappy. A lot of men are unhappy. A lot of men are in what people perceive to be healthy relationships, and the man is unhappy.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of times, I've talked to a lot of men and they're like, they feel like their needs are not being met. But what the needs that they have that need to be met are easy. They're simple.
Very simple. Very simple. Very simple. Yes, ma'am. Right.
It's nothing. It's really nothing. It's nothing like what we ask of you all and what we expect from you all. It's really nothing. Their peace. I had a guy and he was like, respect. I want to be nurtured, which means he was like, I want to be fed and I want to be sexed. Right.
That ain't asking much when Raekwon the Man got it for free. And they didn't even have to put a ring on your finger.
And
you know
was like,
what?
and I'll do whatever for her. He was like, a man
Right.
wants to be respected, you know, and of course, when it comes to the home, a clean home, wherever he wants to be fed, he needs to have his belly full.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
And he needs to be able to have a release with his woman.
No, yes, ma'am. Oh my goodness, man. Hold tight, Miss Will. I gotta give you the coach's special. Fire for your mind. The kosher tradition. That was some fire for your mind. Yeah, that was very powerful. Shout out to my man, Gregory Golden Child, 325 for that $5 super sticker. He said, peace, TKC, much love, respect. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Shout out also to Gregory Scotland for that $10 super sticker, and that is a deal, right?
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Also, shout out to D.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
That $5 super sticker. He said, "Thank you, much love, TK. Please keep spreading the truth. I have no other choice but to keep spreading it because there's a lot of brokenness in the hearts and the minds of men." And you know, Mr. Willie, so many men have went by the way of the gravesite, and you can hear the echoes from the gravesite. When you go and look at the mausoleums, when you go and look at the gravesite, you can hear the echoes. You can hear the echoes from the gravesite about the pain, the broken dreams, and also the dreams deferred, you know, because no one's poured into them. No one spoke life into them. No one spoke life to their pain. It was always about her, me. And, you know, I've always told men that in relationships that in other cultures and countries, they don't have to deal with the shenanigans that many of our men have to deal with because those women are raised in patriarchies. Now, I do believe in healthy patriarchies. I don't believe in abusive patriarchies, but patriarchy for the sense that they honor and reverence their men. And see, men begin to live longer, Miss Willie, when they're honored, venerated, and respected. But in this culture, in this country, anything associated with masculinity and heteronormative masculinity is often more or less skewed under, or more or less met with a lot of obscurity and also met with a lot of vitriol. As I said before in the past, because so many of these women have the lack of self-awareness, what do you fear is going to be the result of their lack of self-awareness, but also their thinking errors? What's your take on that?
They're gonna, like to say, they're gonna be bitter forever. Like they're gonna be bitter. It's taking a toll on their health. I know a lot of women who are bitter and who still have that hatred and unforgiveness in them, and their health, like their physical health, how they look, how they've aged, they are lonely. And you know, when you're lonely like that and you don't have a significant other or you don't have children and you don't have healthy relationships, you end up, you know, dying. It takes a toll on you in every area, your mental health, your spiritual health, sometimes your financial, your financial health, all of that kind of stuff. So what's going to happen is you're going to see more women who are by themselves, more women who continue to chase all of these accolades and continue to operate in their masculine and go and hustle. And then when they die, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say die alone, I literally mean die alone. There's not going to be anybody to take care of their arrangements. There's not going to be anybody there to give them their flowers. There's not going to be anybody there really weeping and crying over them. There's going to be some strangers having to come into their place and pack up their degrees and pack up their designer purses and to pack up the furs and, sell off the cars, all the stuff that they thought was going to keep them. You know what I'm saying? And all of the things that they chased because they felt safe chasing that, right? Because they never wanted to open up. They never wanted to open up to heal. They never wanted to open up to give love, to receive love, or anything like that. So you're going to see more and more unhappy women. You're going to see more and more broken women. You're going to see more and more hateful women. And you're going to see more and more women die alone.
Right.
If they decide to have a kid along the way, because just because you have a kid doesn't mean that you love and respect men, right? So if they decide to have a kid or a daughter and they're raising the broken mom and the hurt mom, and the bitter mom is raising a broken daughter, a hurt daughter, a bitter daughter, and never even giving her a chance to become whole because you have already ingrained in her what a broken woman is, and that is her norm, then she is going to grow up like that, and it's going to create just this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is a vicious cycle, and it's a vicious cycle that's predicated on the lack of intimacy is predicated on the lack of brokenness from the pain from the past. And what happens, their daughters get caught up in this karmic cycle. You know, in Hindu, I don't believe in Hinduism, but it's called karmic, the karmic cycle. It's when they constantly go through a refinement process of trying to be perfect, but it never comes into fruition. And their daughters get caught up in the karmic cycle of their vicarious trauma to the point they become broken. And so every man that they deal with is through the brokenness of the lens of their mother that their mothers went through. And what she's doing, she's forfeiting her future happiness based on the brokenness of her mother. You know, Langston Hughes said it better than me, Miss Willie. He said, what happens when dreams become deferred? You know, and he's talked about it more or less festers like a boil, and then it pops and it dries in the sun. I can't say it verbatim, but you get the story. When your dreams become deferred, then they begin to fester like a sore, and eventually it pops and it dries up like a raisin in the sun. And that's what's happening to a lot of our modern women. Your dreams have been deferred because you failed to do shallow work. You failed to do the self-introspection. You failed to more or less arrest your feelings and more or less stand back and sit back and say, what role did I play in the evolution of this relationship? Because I've said before, Ms. Willie, succinctly, a mature woman is a woman that comes full circle. She's willing to look at her part. Yes. She's willing to look at herself. She's willing to corral her feelings and say, it's not my brother, it's not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, I'm standing in the need of prayer. I'm standing in the need of prayer, not what he did, not what they did, but what I did. And when she can more or less succinctly look at herself and say what she's done, Miss Willie, then she begins to become full circle. But here's the caveat to that. For some, it's going to take what's called an existentialist crisis. Yes. And that existentialist crisis is going to either be something traumatic that's going to happen, and eventually they're going to wake up. But by that time, for so many, it's going to be too late, because you said something very powerful. My sister went through it. My sister went through it herself. She died. She passed on, I think, Valentine's Day or the day after. And, $500,000 home, 200 Range Rover, 200 a 2021 nice vehicle, probably about a $70,000 to $80,000 vehicle. But she finally got it, and she got her soul right. But you begin to see the people that really love and care about you at the funeral, because a lot of these people, they never care. They don't care. They care about what you got, but they don't care about you. Many have begun to mock Kevin Samuels, and they say he died alone. But I always tell people this, Miss Willie, it's one thing to have what's called death by proxy. I'm going to do a show on that.
Right.
Death by proxy is totally different than just dying alone. Death by proxy is something we all yearn for. I think, if you get married again, you yearn for to have a death by proxy, meaning you're going to have your boys by the bedside and your daughter and your husband. And then after that, then of course we're going to die alone as we transition into the glory world. We all going to stand before the Creator one day by ourselves. But in this purest form, I think everybody ideally will want death by proxy, meaning the loved ones to be at the bedside, getting ready to transition you over to see God. But many times, you're right. A lot of these women, they will die alone. They try to mock Kevin and say he died alone, but he didn't die alone, but they tried to do a lot of things to try to minimize what he was trying to say. But he didn't technically die alone because it's not the same, because what women want a lot of time is not symmetrical to what men want. Provision and protection is the safeguards that women often crave. Women are survivalists. They're insular creatures by nature. They have to receive the world. But men, we project the world, which is power. Shout out to my man, Andrew Baker, for that $20 super stick. He said, salute to Averi, Coach and Averi. Many black women have realized that what a black man won't do for him, other races of women will. We are going where we are celebrated, not tolerated. Yes, and that is a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? I agree with you 1,000%. That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Miss Willie, Dr. William Glasser talked about the 5 principles, the 5 elements predicated on what's called choice theory. He said when people don't get their needs met, they begin to come up with choices. And he said that when people are not getting their needs met, choice theory is predicated on freedom, power, fun, survival, and belonging. And so what you're seeing now is that men are beginning to say, you know what? I'm going to go to a culture where women honor and respect me. I'm going to a culture where the women are a lot more feminine. Doesn't mean those women are perfect. Doesn't mean those women don't have issues. Doesn't mean those women don't have game. Doesn't mean that if you're a simp in America, you won't be a simp abroad. We understand all that. We understand that universally women are the same, universally at their base level. We know that there are intangibles that make every woman different or uniquely different. But at their base level, survival, love, provision, protection, and maintenance is what most women crave for. But in your opinion, when did the dissolvement, Ms. Woodley, of honor and respect begin based on your anecdotal experiences?
So you mean my personal life?
No, not in your personal life, just from an anecdotal experience. When did that? When you look at it from a greater kaleidoscope, when did the dissolvement for the honor and love of black men begin to precipitate based on what you saw, not only in your milieu or in your community, but also in the media, also in your community, also in colleges? When did you begin to see it dissipate, or more or less begin to become more and more less important? When did you begin to see it? And you're a little younger than me, but when did you begin to see it?
I'm 39, and from what I can remember, I've seen it. I was born in 82. I've always seen it,
wow.
At some level, right? I didn't miss, I've seen it on some level. And, my mom had, both her mother and father, but actually my grandfather raised 6 kids. My grandmother was the one that walked out.
Oh, wow.
And left and came back years later. And that says a lot. My dad is 71, right? So I saw that side at an early, I saw it differently at an early age from that side because, my father was huge on being an amazing man for us and showing up in the home. But that's also because he saw his father do it, right? He was raised by a man, He wasn't raised by his mother.
Right.
His mother was the one that was in the streets, not his father. His father was, my grandfather was the one that was also raising kids that were not his, So I've seen it because I've also seen, like I said, we go back to the trauma. It goes back to the hurt women, the women that that choose, because to me, healing is a choice, right? Healing, there comes a point when no matter what happened, no matter who did it, we all come to a point where we have to choose. Are we going to heal or are we going to stay on our hell? Are we going to heal or are we going to stay the victim? Are we going to, and you even said it, like, show me where I went wrong, right? With myself, when I was in my marriage and exiting, and I'm like, okay, where did I fail, right? Where did I fail as a woman? Where did I fail as a wife? So I can go back and correct that. You know what I'm saying? So I can go back and work on that for my future as a woman, and for my future as a wife, and for my boys, and for my daughters. So I have seen that breakdown in the home for years. I honestly, it has become our norm. It is our norm to walk around and to see women disrespecting Black men, to talk about them like they are nothing in front of their Black boys. You know what I'm saying? Their sons.
Right.
It is normal to see young Black girls that are young, elementary age, like they've been up all night paying bills, taking care of a baby. They are born, and I call it that stink look, but their mothers are looking like that. Their aunts are looking like that. When you look at the girl strips, all the girlfriend, you're sitting up, you may not always be talking about, the stuff that's trending, right? Like, oh, let's work on ourselves. Let's do this, a spiritual awakening. At some point, you're all sitting up gossiping and degrading Black men. And you guys are supporting each other's pain, and you are applauding sitting in each other's hurt, and you are applauding being in the victim mindset. I've seen it when I have seen women who have decided to heal, and then all of a sudden they lose their girlfriends, right? They lose you because now you're not operating in the victim and you're not blaming the man. You've decided to sit and take a look within yourself. And now they think like, oh, look at you trying to get yourself together for a man. No, look at me trying to get myself together for me. So you see these women that are losing their friendships, the ones that do decide to heal. But I'm like, they were never meant to be your friends in the first place. Some people want to see you sick, right? Because they're too scared to heal. They're still too scared to move on. So I've seen it for years. I've seen it. I mean, it's more norm, honestly, I hate to say it, than anything.
Right.
And so when we get on platforms like this and we start speaking about it, that's when I realized, like, oh, wait a minute. So the way I'm talking and my belief and me talking about, like, hey, Avery, you were tripping. And like, yes, I needed to work on myself in this area. And I didn't know how to love a man. I knew how to be loyal. I didn't know how to open up and tell a man that I need him and that I love him and to, lay up close to him and do all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that. Then they're like, oh, you're a pick me. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. And I'm like, oh, so this is the healthy way and this is the right way. But we want to stay, you know what I'm saying? We want to stay broken. You know what I'm saying? We want to stay hurt. We want to keep passing down this trauma or whatever. And people are scared to change. But people are scared to change. And I tell people, like, holding yourself accountable isn't easy. Sitting with yourself isn't easy. Checking yourself isn't easy. But staying in your hell and staying hurt, I don't choose that. I would never choose that. But we have it, and it's been around for a long time, and I don't know when it's gonna leave. And I'm actually honestly worried for my children, for my boys.
Yes, ma'am. My heart goes out to you. I want to show something. I know you got to go in a few minutes because you got to get up early. How many more minutes you got?
For a little bit longer, yeah.
Okay, great. How are modern women dishonorable because of their lack of self-awareness? But before you answer that, Ms. Wood, I want to share something with you, because the lack of being honorable, the lack of validating or more or less venerating the boys and the men is leading to a condition that many don't understand. And see, here's the problem. As I said earlier, Ms. Wood, and to the audience that are listening, needs drive behaviors. Needs drives behaviors. But there was a lot of consternation behind LeBron James' son, also, and a couple of other young brothers, because they were dating women of other colors. And, so many of our women minimize the importance of boys and men to just, a welfare check or child support, to the point that men that see themselves as commodities instead of seeing themselves as human beings. But I want to share something with you, because you do have boys, and I do believe in the advocation of young boys and men, especially our young black boys. But let's look at this and let's break it down from a schematic perspective. Hold tight. All right.
You feel if your child...
Hold tight. Let me put fair use, because I don't want them to tag me. Hold tight. Okay. Hold tight, Ms. Willard. Fair use. This is fair use. We're about to show this stream as we seek to bring education and clarity. This is fair use, guys. This is fair use. All right, so hold tight. All right, hold tight. All right, so we're going to look at this uproar, Mr. Woodley, about on social media where some of these women have had a level of consternation with what's going on with LeBron James and son. Let's listen.
It's attacked on social media. How would you deal with it? How would they deal with it? Now, according to some people on social media, LeBron James's son, Bronny, committed the ultimate crime, taking a white girl to the prom. Believe it or not, that's what people are calling the ultimate crime. Both shared pictures of each other, and it didn't take long for the horrible, despicable...
And what's alluring to me, because when men begin to do what they're doing and what's best for them, it's, as I said earlier, is black male worship. But one, LeBron and these guests, these celebrity guests, they're a byproduct of their environment. They date who's in their environment. And I heard little boys say that, sadly, some of our girls are mean. They say they got a nasty attitude. But what's your take on Bronny taking this young girl, Bronny's son, Bronny Jr., going to the prom with a white girl? What's your take on it?
I don't see anything wrong with it. I think, first of all, I think they look amazing. And I really believe that people are forgetting that, look at his mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at his mother and what we have seen from his mother and father's relationship. A beautiful black couple, right? A beautiful black couple. And it seems like she doesn't do the most. The way she carries herself, she's really subtle. She's not doing all this stuff. Right. I think she's honorable. Something about them I love. So what they need to understand is that just because he took her to the prom does not mean that he does not see who he came from. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens with that overgeneralization. Like, oh, he took her. So what? So now you think because he took a white girl to the prom, that he doesn't love and respect Black women when he came from one, when he sees his father loving and honoring, loving a Black woman and providing for her, and sees his mother honoring not only his father, but all of the children and everything like that. And then it comes to like, where you live, right? Mm-hmm. Where you live, who you're around, what type of school you're at. A lot of times, like your environment, there may not be a lot of us in their environment, right? So is he supposed to just go out and look for one? You're going to be around the girls that you go to school with, or if they go to a private, if the girls go to another private school, where do you play sports at? Who are you seeing? You know what I'm saying? Who are you seeing in the neighborhood? Who are you seeing at your sporting events? Who are you seeing at the little parties and the mixers and all that kind of stuff? I don't think anything is wrong with it as long as he knows who he is, who he came from, and everything like that. Now, if he was taking someone to prom and he was like, oh, I don't like Black women because they're loud, because they're this, because they're that, then there's a problem with it. Just like when Black women say, all Black men are no good. All Black men are deadbeat daddies. All Black men cheat. All Black men are this. I don't see anything wrong with it. I've said on here before, like my children, we are in a predominantly white community.
Right.
And their schools, yes, they are mixed, but still in certain classes, there's only a few of them, right? There's only a few of them. They might not date a Black girl. You know what I'm saying? They have, but then I've also asked them, they're like, they have bad attitudes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This and that. And like, I said this to you. I was like, no, you go where you grow.
You go where you grow. Boom.
You understand what I make sure they understand is that I'm like, yeah. And when they say like, oh, well, the ones that we know, are this and that, I make sure, like one time my son said, well, Black girls are this. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, the ones you've come across. And I've seen some of the ones you've come across, and I would agree. I was like, but as long as you know that we're not all like that.
Right.
You know? But then they know that because they've seen other ones, when they're at school, when they're at different schools or their family or whatever. But just like, I don't want them to label all Black girls.
Right.
And I don't want, us to label all Black men or all Black boys. But I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think the people that are attacking him and are attacking them are the ones still that need to do the work, right? It's so much easier to throw a stone and to get caught up in who he's taking, what she looks like, who he's not taking. Then it's like, why can't you get anybody?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I want you to ponder the thought while we're looking at this clip. Okay. What did you learn about yourself that was dishonorable behavior in the past? But I want you to hold that thought, and I want you to more or less ruminate on it when we finish.
Okay. Disgusting people to go in on these two kids, 17 years old. Some saying they were disappointed in Bronny, and others going as far to call the girl a gold digger, a young girl in high school. My next guests agree that was totally out of line and unforgivable.
First of all, Rashonda, your thoughts on
You know what I find appalling? When I don't care if women or men date out. You go where you're celebrated. If you get with a woman or a man that loves you, fine. But you notice when Meghan Markle was with Prince Charles, you go girl, Black girl magic, but now they're saying it's unforgivable that this young man has the right to exercise his right to date what he wants. It's almost like Black men are the slaves of women that don't really honor and respect them anyway. Mm-hmm. But we're just the property, and we need to fall in line and do what the women say. And I say the hell with that. I believe men got the right to live their lives on their own terms, men or women. But no woman's gonna tell me who the hell I want to date. If I was a single man, if I wanted to date a white woman, I would. If I wanted to date an Asian or a Latin or whatever, African, I'm gonna date who I want to date. And I wish somebody would say something to me. You're not paying my bills. You weren't with me when I was going to college, going to Carolina, working hard, going to North Carolina, NCCU. Shout out to the Eagles, Eagle Pride, and all the schools that I went through as I was on my Essential. Where was the support then? But you want to tell me how to live my life based on your fickle and selfish emotions? That ain't gonna work. But I want you to keep listening
on this.
It's actually really sad. I on one hand, I get it. You're in a place where you can highlight a Black queen, as so many people are saying, but they're kids. He's at a $40,000 school. It's not a whole lot of other Black kids at a $40,000 school. And so just let the kids live.
What about you, Karen? Your thoughts on this as a social media expert? And you have seen this time and time again, but we're talking about kids now.
Absolutely. You know, I think social media gives everyone a platform to just give away their unsolicited opinions, and people start to jump on this bandwagon and hop onto the cancel culture that we're living in. So just to Rashonda's point, you know, this is a kid. People have the freedom and the right to choose who they want to date and who they want to take to prom. And I think it becomes very polarizing when we start giving our opinions as to what race you should be dating. I mean, it's just unnecessary to be even sharing that on social media. But LeBron James himself is just such a big figure. So anything that's associated with him, his son, his family, anything they do is going to spark reactions on social media.
And Rashonda, I'm sure maybe the young girl, she may have went home and cried about this after reading these comments. Possibly he even cried as well. People forget these are people too, and very young people who are impressionable and can be hurt by those ugly words out there and racism.
Yeah, I wanted to cry for her. I mean, you know, they're calling her a money hungry girl. I mean, she's at a $40,000 school. I doubt she's that money hungry. You know, they've just labeled her immediately, but I could only think of my own teen daughters. You have these keyboard bandits that just want to weigh in and give their opinion on anything. And in the midst of all of this, we just are losing decency. Yeah. Because I am sure they were really hurt by this. I can only imagine their special night has been ruined for life behind this.
And that's a great point she makes, Karen, that, you know, people are just mean and vicious out there. What would you advise a parent to do to a child who's gone through something like this? And it's not on this scale, but we know this happens all the time. What would you tell a parent to tell that child who may have been victimized on social media to do after encountering something like that?
Absolutely. It's really even hard to digest that as a parent and the times that we're living in, that we have to educate our children and just bolster their strength, you know, before going into a situation like this. But I think just reminding teens, reminding kids that, you know, social media, it's a digital playground, and you never know what you might get when you go to the playground. You know, there's going to be your friends that you can play with and kids that are going to be ugly. You know, we all are facing judgment from all sides. Some people speak it, some people type it out, some people don't. But I think that that's what we're exposed to. So it's a different conversation to be had for people that have normal teens in normal settings, right? This is not a normal couple. So
all right, so in a nutshell, before we start, what do you think about that? I want you to think about it, Ms. Woodley, but shout out to my man, James Turner, for that $25 super chat. And it is a deal, right?
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
But hold tight.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
But so, Kosher, I have a question for Avery. Hi, Avery. I wanted to get your view on Roe versus Wade, controversial talk. Avery, do you think that the government is trying to take away your rights when it comes down to your body? What's your take on that, Ms. Woodley?
So my take might not be the same as a lot of people. I am, how do I put it? Personally, I've never had an abortion. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've never had one. I'm not necessarily I'm kind of in the middle. You know, I'm kind of in the middle because I do honestly feel that there needs to be some restrictions when it comes to it. You know, when it comes to people having abortions, there are a lot of people who use abortion as a form of birth control. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who I feel are constantly, this might get me in trouble, reproducing for the wrong reasons. And forgetting that they're actually bringing a whole child and human being into this world. So it's just one of those things. I've kind of stepped back from it. I'm not, you know, it comes down to like a personal thing, but I do believe that there needs to be, and I don't know how to do it right. I'm not in politics. There needs to be something in place to kind of govern, you know, and to kind of have, you know, some type of restrictions, because I have seen some really messed up cases and scenarios.
Right.
Where it has made me kind of against abortion in a lot of ways, right? In a lot of spaces. So
Right.
you know, it's one of those things people are like, oh, get your hands off my body, this, and this. But then there's some where I'm like, keep your legs closed. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like keep your legs closed. Like, what are you doing? Right? You're constantly bringing these kids into the world, and if you're not taking care of them, or if you're not, for those people who can even take care of the kids, it's not just financial, right? There are people who are financially healthy and well off, but mentally they're not, right? And they are bringing up children in trauma and just in bad environments, even if they have food on the table and they have a roof over their head and they have all of those physical, tangible, needs met. But no, as a woman, I do feel that there does need to be some definitely some restrictions when it comes to abortion, because I have seen it abused, and I don't think it was supposed to be. It shouldn't be used in the way that it's been used for many.
No doubt, I totally agree.
That makes sense. It's kind of touchy. I'm choosing my words wisely.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, dear. I totally get it. I think you answered the question. I'm very clear and very succinct. But back to the question I asked you earlier, what were some of the things that you did as a woman that were dishonorable in the past, but you learned from it and you became a better woman because of it?
My tone, how I spoke, not listening, not hearing, not trying to understand, being combative, placing my feelings and needs above others. And okay, so I'll say that, and there's like a flip to that, right? But that was at a point when, when your feelings and your needs are here, it was blinding me from being able to see and hear and accept what the other person was trying to say, right? So I was operating in a very selfish space because I was hurt, and so when you're operating out of your feelings and you're operating out of a place for hurt, just like when you said, like, and able to be a wife, you know what I'm saying? And your feelings, there has to be, you got to be able to, you can't operate fully in your feelings. So all of that brought about, I would say, dishonor as far as like my role as a woman and as a wife. Intimacy, withholding sex.
Really?
Oh, baby, I'm be honest, withholding sex.
Wow. Not the sea goat.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty.
Out of spite, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, like it was all breeding from a place of her spite. And then also it was also coming from a place of me just not knowing, right? Me not knowing how to be a woman in certain ways and how to be a wife, and what really comes with that and what that means, right? And so it's like you're kind of thrown into the fire and you're getting burnt. I'm getting burned. I'm smelling like smoke, and I'm figuring it all out. But one thing I knew is that I was not going to come out of that fire the same way. So I sat in my hell. I sat in my fire and was like, no, girl, we're going to get it together. Like, we're going to get it together. Like I said, that was just also like not knowing anything about the feminine, not knowing anything about a woman, not knowing anything about other than like, oh, you got to be strong and you got to be independent, and that caused me to dishonor myself and to dishonor my marriage in some ways and the person I was married to in some ways, right? And that's not who I was created to be. And that's not the type of woman I wanted to be. And that's not how I wanted to live my life in that space. And so I worked on it, and I'm still working on it every day.
I love your honesty, man. I love your honesty. I love your candor, because, I think that's the only way that you can grow. The fact that you're willing to share very private parts of your life with people, that speaks volumes to you. I think that when our women are willing to take on that level of maturation, that they're going to become the better versions of themselves. What is the most dishonorable thing that's impacted men and women in modern relationships, but especially the brothers? What's one of the most, in your opinion, is the dishonorable element that's impacting relationships with black men and black women, in your opinion?
I think it's the disrespect how we emasculate and disrespect Black men. And I'm speaking for women, you know, I'm speaking on behalf of like what I've seen, right, on my side. I think that it's that. I think it's the blame that we do on both sides. A lot of the blame, Black women are like this, Black men are like this. We sound like children on a schoolyard going tit for tat, fighting. But on my end as a woman, it is the disrespect that we have for you all.
Right.
And just thinking that, like, a lot of them believing that we don't need you.
Right.
That we don't need you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't want to wake up in a world. Imagine waking up. You know, you have those movies, right? And it's like they wake up and something's gone, or everything's changed. And imagine waking up in a world where there were no Black men. You know, it's the same thing. If you look, I feel like Black women are needed. If you woke up in a world there were no Black women, you know, but some would be like, well, heck, we probably have more peace, right? Like, but
right.
to wake up in a world where there's no Black men, and I think that the disrespect, we're not going to get anywhere until we realize that we need you all.
Right.
We can't. You can't love a man. You can't love a Black man. Talking about loving a Black man. You can't talk about honoring a Black man and being loyal to a Black man and being affectionate to a Black man if you don't even think that we need the Black man.
Right.
We need you all. You know what I'm saying? We need you. And we have lied to each other. We have lied to our daughters. We have lied to our sisters. We have lied to our sons and sat in their face and said, you are nothing. We don't need you. You are no good. And until we change that narrative, we're going to continue to struggle. It's bigger than what these people are thinking about. Like, I don't think they understand that it's the family unit, the structure in the Black community is breaking down, and it starts with, like, to me, it starts with the Black woman.
Right.
As I read something before, and it was the power of, and it's not, don't want to go word for word. Stormy O. Martin wrote a book, The Power of a Praying Wife, and she has The Power of a Praying Woman. But also in that book, it's talking about like the power of a praying wife. It's not like, oh, God, change my husband.
Right.
He's that. It's change me. How do I go about and lead quietly? How do I come about the change? And it's, as women, we are silent. You know, we do it silently. We do it quietly. And if we start to change, and if we work on ourselves, you know what I'm saying? If it's matched with the right person, and they'll be like, I see her doing this. Just like if it's a couple and they decide, you know what, I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start eating better, taking care of myself. Eventually you might be like, you know what, me too. They'll be like, you need to do this. You see me working out, you need to work out. You're fat, lazy stuff. You come in the house, you know, it's not like that. It's just like, go about it, you know, go about it quietly. As women, we need to be, you know, I honestly feel like it's going to be on us. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be on us. We are the birthers of a lot of things. We bring things forth. And as women who are supposed to be compassionate and who are supposed to be loving and who are supposed to be the ones that are the nurturers and, you know, healing and all of that, that's where it's going to come from. Like, you have a world of women that are disconnected from their feminine, which is why they can't heal. Right. And then they want to talk about, oh, I'm feminine. I'm operating in my dark feminine. You know, you're trying to do witchcraft, trying to cast love spells. You're trying to do all that. You're not trying to change. You're not trying to evolve. You're not trying to hold yourself accountable. You're not trying to unbecome so you can become, right? So you become this woman that society tells you need to be, which is basically you become a man. And you don't want to unbecome that. You don't want to take the pants off. You don't want to relinquish control. You don't want to set your ego aside. You don't want to set your pride aside. You don't want to open up. You don't want to do this, but then you want this, and this.
Right. Well, it goes back to what I said. It's called taxation without representation.
Yes.
You know, and the mental breaking of the American male. Shout out to my man, Dr. Thunder in the house. Shout out to that homie. Gregory Scott, I want to ask you a question, Mr. Ward. He said another question. What is your thought on the certain Black female individuals on the internet disrespecting Dr. Martin Luther King? This extends to the downgrading of Black men and what some call Black male worship. What's your take on the denigration that some are having towards Dr. King, if you're aware of it? Some are saying that Dr. King's relevance is not important because he committed adultery, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Shout out to Tim Howell for that for that $5 super sticker. I'm thinking the same thing because Miss Miller ain't nobody got.
That ain't kosher.
And that ain't right. Nobody got time for that. But what you think about that foolishness, Miss Woodley? They're trying to minimize the greatness of Dr. King because of, his sexual dalliances. Because there's nothing new under the sun. David was an adulterer, but does that mean he was kicked out of the Bible? Moses had an anger problem. Paul was a murderer. Solomon had many women. It's called the human experience. But what's your take on that? And shout out to Tim Howard for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, Tim. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's deflection. It's just deflection. It's a way to deflect, and it's a way to go back and take a black man that is respected by many, and to show his error and be like, no, because see, not even that black man was worth nothing. You know what I'm saying? What gives you, first of all, who are you? But that's when I said a lot of black women feel they can sit high and look low, and they feel like they're God. Who are you to go back, double back, and try to tear him down and undo everything that he's done? Because I don't know if they understand what that's going to do to them. They're trying to shed light on something, and while they're shedding light on it, it's going to hurt them. A lot of you got to learn how to separate the message from the messenger. Right? My dad used to tell me it could be a wino on the street that may speak something to you, Right. So separate the message from the messenger, but then they don't say anything about the music they listen to, the music that they twerk to, the stuff that the guys are talking about. So they feel to take, like I said, somebody that is respected in the public eye and to shed light on the fact that he cheated. So what? That does not erase everything that he did. So what? If his wife wanted to stay with him, that's their business. You know what I'm saying? Why are you have your nose in somebody's business that is no longer here? You know what I'm saying? And who did a lot for you? Like some of you black, some of you black women, that's how I'm gonna start talking. Some of y'all, they're like, oh, I got my seat at the table, this and this. You wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for cheat. You know what I'm saying? For him. Honestly, you want to talk about him cheating, like, okay, well, his cheating self got you that seat at that table. Right. You know what I'm saying? Have some respect. Literally have some respect. So what? Totally the man may have cheated. The man cheated. It's not the end of the world. But I think women forget, like, women cheat. Right. But it's minimized when they do it, everything. We kind of maximize anything that you guys do. Right. Because it's a deflection tactic. It's a deflection tactic, right. It's like, no, let me shed the light, let me put this spotlight on you over here. It's like, oh, we're starting to talk about black women need to work out. They need to take care of themselves. Because look, it's a deflection tactic. Like, when are we going to get tired of that? Like, we're too grown for that. Or we should be too grown for that. Shout out to my man, Charles Irby. He said that a lot of black men don't see this attack on Ado's black iconic figures. It's the erasure of Ado's men. I've been noticing this trend over the last 10 years. I agree with that. Barry Hamilton said that attempting revisions of black women from a false empowerment movement. So James Turner asked a question, Ms. Woodley. He said that, have you gone through therapy, Ms. Woodley? Yes or no? What are some of the benefits that you've noticed? And what would you tell other women about the importance of therapy? And that is a deal, right? What's your take on that? That's a deal, right? Because you have to get involved. Right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? But what say you about that? Oh yeah, so I have definitely gone through therapy. Great. And I think it's something that most of us should do before, stuff hits the fan, right? But a lot of us do. We wait till something, a crisis happens, something happens and it's like, wait a minute, I need some help, right? I 100% believe in therapy. And I honestly think that a lot of women, men too, but for me, a lot of women need to go. I believe that a lot of women need to be careful about the therapist that they go to, because I do a lot of therapists are not operating from a genuine place. I feel a lot of therapists are operating from a personal agenda from their personal experience and their
Yes.
certain narratives.
Yes, ma'am.
I have seen that. I've heard that from clients that I've worked with. So you do have to be very careful with that. You do have a lot of bitter women who are still in their trauma, who become therapists, and they work with other women. And I've had women who were trying to heal and who were trying to get past a point of hurt and go on in their life. And their therapist actually tried to keep them in that space of hurt because they were hurt, you know, and they found out like, wait a minute, this therapist went through X, Y, and Z and she hasn't healed and she hasn't moved on from it. So she's actually working with women and trying to keep them in that hurt space.
Right.
So you do have to be, you know, careful of that. I know women that have stayed with a therapist for years and you're not supposed to, and they have not changed or evolved. And I'm like, you guys are having a bitter party of two. And we're calling it therapy and it's not therapy, but
right.
So no, I'm for it. And it did, I think for me, therapy taught me more to sit with myself and to really look outside of situations and things that had happened and to get to the root of the problem, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I am spiritual and I am a believer.
Yes, ma'am.
But I also believe in medical professionals.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I believe in therapists. I believe in counselors. I believe in psychiatrists and all of
yes,
that.
Ma'am.
Because you can't just sit up. You know, I turned, like, let's just be honest. At one point, I turned my closet and I saw that prayer into a prayer room. And I'm sitting like, working on my marriage. Do this, do this, do this. You know what I'm saying? Reciting scriptures. And I remember I heard a voice and it was like, no. That's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? You can't change anything by sitting up and reciting all this. You have to change.
Right.
It's about you. And that's honestly why I went to therapy. It wasn't to fix a situation. It was to fix myself.
Right. Yes, ma'am. Right. But that goes back to
change somebody. It was to anybody else but myself. It was personal.
I totally agree. But that goes back, Miss Willie, where it says that faith without works is dead. You know, part of God's sovereignty is therapists, doctors, teachers, lawyers, principals, you know, clergymen. They're all part of what's called his ubiquitous nature or his collective grace. So I always tell people, then when it doesn't make any sense, use your common sense. And sometimes the agents of grace in the form of professionals can help you in the recovery process. In the clinical world, we call it the bio, the psycho, the social, the spiritual model. They all coalesce together. And you are correct. Ideally, therapy is about 6 months to a year, depending on if it's psychodynamic or psychoanalytic therapy. It can go on for years, like Freudian therapy or free association. That can go on for years. But you're correct. When the woman is more or less stewing in the trauma of that person, it's called countertransference. And it should never get to that point. You should see some type of progression going on if you're going to be in therapy 3, 4, 5 years. So there should be a level of progression. And you're 1,000% correct. Shout out to Moonwalker84 for that $2 super sticker. I appreciate it. One more question, because you've done an awesome job. Like I said, man, I could talk to you, Avery, for hours. I love your candor. I love your insight. I love your warm, kind spirit. I think the fact that you are evolving as a woman and that you are striving to become the better version of yourself makes your radiance be even brighter. You know, what men don't understand, what women don't understand is that when a woman has a level of contrition and she's willing to self-introspect, that makes a woman look very attractive to a man. Because, you know, a woman saying, I'm sorry, it's like, that's the death kill for a lot of women, to say, I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, they ain't gonna say they sorry. You know, it's gonna take an act of Congress. It's gonna take Jesus coming back for them to say I'm sorry. They ain't gonna say I'm sorry because, you know, it goes against their collective nature. And I think when women say, you know, like Anita Baker said in the past, I apologize. It makes that woman become the better version of herself. We're going to get to it in a minute, and I'm going to send a special shout out to this brother. I don't know who the whole time. Shout out to Chantel Simone. What's up, sweetie? How you doing, dear? Shout out to the lovely Chantel Simone. We got to do a show again at some point. Maybe we'll do it with Avery and Chantel. You know,
I love Chantel. Hey, bro.
I love Chantel too. I think it'll be a great show to have you and her, and also trying to get Shay Sharday as well. Hold tight. Shout out to my man James Miles for that $49 bomb, man, and it's a deal, right? Thank you, brother. James Miles is the sponsor of the stream, as he was the sponsor last night. I appreciate it, James Miles, always holding the brother down, man. I really appreciate it. But you know, I asked you the question earlier about Kevin Samuels, and maybe you said it, but I want you to reiterate it for the people that are listening. What did Kevin Samuels mean to you, and were you shocked at the level of vitriol that he received in death?
Yeah, you know, I've actually been quiet on YouTube since his passing. I just had to, I mean, I had other stuff going on, but I had to kind of like step back. So most people know, but you know, he was the reason I got on YouTube. It was Roland Martin that was like, hey, make the video, but it was based off that whole thing, you know, you're average at best. It was the first video I ever did. And I did a review on him. And I have the messages. I remember when he reached out to me and he put "Welcome to the Jungle." Right. And we messaged each other a few times and text back and forth because he wanted us to work together. There were a few times he sent me stuff and he was like, hey, what is your take on this? And it was funny because, you know, people would say like, oh, he's talking about a woman like you. You know, you're in your 30s and you're this and you're that. And I remember he said one time, he was like, no, I'm actually not talking about women like you. And that's what they can't hear. You know what I'm saying? That's what they don't understand. He was like, the fact that you were a wife and you have continued to work on yourself and you talk about accountability. He was like, we need your voice. I may not have always agreed with his delivery.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes.
May not have always agreed with some of the things he said, but then a lot of times I did, right? I felt that there was a need for him. We needed him. We needed his voice. We needed some of his antics. We needed some of his entertainment. People also need to understand that he also became an entertainer, right? And that's what they're not understanding. But they also are forgetting that he didn't reach out. He wasn't calling these women, right? He wasn't going to knock on their doors and do all this kind of stuff. People reached out to him. He helped a ton of people, but they wanted to forget that. They wanted to ignore that. I felt that, you know, his voice and his messaging was something that is dire right now. You know, I think he will be missed. I will actually miss him for sure. I will miss his opinion and his, you know, his take on things. And it did get people in an uproar, but it got people talking, right? It definitely got people talking. And like I said, he helped a ton of people. What I have seen and what I have continued to see with the hate and the celebrations goes to show and prove him right in so many ways. We have a lot of work to do. It shows that we do have a lot of bitter women. We do have a lot of angry women. We do have a lot of women who emasculate men. We do have a lot of women who are disrespectful. We do have a lot of women who cannot hear, who cannot listen, who do not want to understand. We do have a lot of women who feel that the men in the world are supposed to cater to them. We have a lot of women who sit high and look low. We have a lot of women who walk like a man, talk like a man, think like a man. And I love to say that. We have a lot of women who just refuse to work on themselves. And, you know, he started with working with men. He gets on men. He gets on men. But what's funny that I've noticed is that a lot of the women who are like, rah, 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 when it comes to him, but you didn't have anything to say when he talked about men being providers. And when he talked about men going out and working and working and working. And when he talked about men, that when a man is with a woman, the woman's money shouldn't matter. You guys didn't say nothing. You were real quiet when he said that, like, yep, But when he talked about you working out and looking good and making your man a plate and helping your man release and pleasing him sexually and working on yourself and not thinking that a man is supposed to come in and take care of you and all your kids and you're not going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? When he talked about that, then you had something to say. When you talked about how he spoke, but when women would come on, call him and come on his station, you know, on his page, on his platform and get loud with him and get disrespectful with him. And then when he responded, like, wait a minute, you're not going to talk to me like this. You're not going to do this on my show. Then all of a sudden he's, you know, he's attacking. But when he spoke the truth, right? When men speak the truth on certain things, and I've noticed this with myself, right? When somebody says something true and you get bothered and it triggers you, a lot of times it's a place that you need to work on. And it's shedding light on something that you haven't healed from. And that's what makes you uncomfortable, And so that's what he was doing. He was just popping off and triggering so many people. And they were like, ow, 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 because those are open flesh wounds. Those are wounds that these women don't want to fix and they don't want to heal. And that's why they didn't like him. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, he was okay when he talked about what a man is supposed to do when it comes to meeting the needs of a woman. But when Kevin Samuels or anybody else talks about women meeting the needs of men and taking care of ourselves for men and it being a short, and all this kind of stuff, there's like, I don't want to hear it, I am honestly disgusted. I'm disgusted by the things that I'm continuing to see and continuing to hear. But then again, on the flip side, I'm like, good, keep putting his name out there because his messaging is going to come up. But I don't know if I ever would have, or when I ever would have gotten my voice out on this platform if it wasn't for Kevin Samuels.
Right. And you're right. I think many are proving the men correct in a negative way, and it's unfortunate. And like I say, you're such a breath of fresh air. I can tell you are a well-read woman. You're intellectual. Very logical. That's that Capricorn. Sometimes I think I'm talking to a pretty dude. I'm talking to a pretty dude, man.
Right. Thank you.
Because I'm not. She think it's like a brother, man. I think it's like a dude. But I do love your candor because you said that it's an evolution. You had to go through an evolution. You had to go through self-introspection. You had to do the work. I tell clients all the time when you come in therapy and you say hemming and hawing and well, I don't know what's going on inside your head.
Right.
Being a therapist is draining because people are dumping all their crap onto you. And you got to try to fix their problems. So, I got to make sure I have enough protein when I'm a therapist. I had to make sure I walk. I had to make sure I get enough vitamin D and sunlight.
Yes.
Because it's draining, Miss Woodley. I had to make sure I drink plenty of water. I had to make sure I get my rest. I take all kinds of supplements, cayenne, cinnamon, I take vitamin B100 complex. I take a lot. I need to get in contact with you about getting a plan because I need to get this weight off, man. I got a bike. I got a nice Trek. I got a nice Trek bike, but I need to start riding again. But
yes, you do. Your physical health is important. Your physical health is important, especially if you are a therapist and you're pouring out to so many. And then you're doing these platforms like this. You got to make sure that you are operating at your highest level as well.
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree. And so I got to put myself back in that position. I know you got to go 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or you got to go now. If you got to go now, no problem. We'll let you go.
We can go to like 9:15. Well, so it's 9:15 my time. Would it be 10:15?
All right, 10:15. I'm gonna let you roll. All right. So guys, I'm gonna drop the link. I want you guys to come up and ask Avery some questions if you want. Be respectful because she's, I got the fruit of Islam protecting her. I'm going to protect her. If I don't protect nobody, I'm going to protect Miss Woodley, man. I'm going to let the Leo spirit out. Hold tight, call in. But I'm going to protect this sister because I respect her highly. And
I respect you as well. Thank you.
You keep doing the work, sis. Like Nehemiah say, stay on the wall. Don't come down because your message won't resonate with many. But don't worry about that. You impact the women that want to be impacted, and you continue to inspire the men that are trying to do a work too. But we're going to talk about it, guys. We're talking about solutions. If you guys want to come up and ask Miss Woodley a question or two, feel free to ask her a question as it relates to trying to find balance in this union. So this is the part of the show. This is the part of the show where we find solutions. All right, so we have Miss Woodley in the house. Guys, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask Miss Woodley. James Turner said, no singing. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right. What's up, brother? How you doing? Make sure you tone yourself down. But how you doing, sir? Traditions versus modern women. How you doing, brother? You blacked out.
Oh.
Are you there? Hello. I can't see you. Now? I can see you. Yes, sir. What's up, brother? How you doing, sir?
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Awesome show. Albert, you have an awesome story to talk about. I'm glad that you put it out there and just being transparent, and thank you for sharing. I think it's very crucial that we men see this talk, because let's be honest, there's so many people not trying to talk on this because you know why? It's just been in the dark, and now it's like hidden to the point. So what we need to understand is, because let's be honest, nobody wants to talk about this. It's not popular. It's not making money, as they say. But no, I appreciate you. Thank you on Culture Show. I appreciate him speaking to you on this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think you're frozen tradition versus modern talks, but it's okay. G Money, how would you like to add to the conversation, brother? It's been a minute. G Money, what questions would you like to ask Ms. Woodley? She has about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So, what questions would you guys like to ask Ms. Woodley as it relates to black male worship in modern dating and relationships?
Hey, how you doing, Kosher Clinician? It's been a while.
Yes, sir.
I just like to say greetings to your beautiful young guest. It's really great hearing her talk. The issue is, I wish the majority of our American-born black women are just like her. When I go out in my daily life and I don't see women that are like her, that think like her. So that's the initial problem. But I was in a chat under a different name, and what I was discussing, particularly when it comes to issues like with the whole Kevin Samuels mess with his death and the bad mouthing of him. Dennis Sperling posted something on Facebook with a UPenn professor posting what I would consider hate speech against Kevin Samuels. I think we need to mobilize and report it. These people should be losing their jobs. It's hate speech. It's hate speech against black men. B. Simone shouldn't have a show either. I'm gonna look into what we can do in regards to getting that show reported and getting her off the air, because it's hate speech. There's nothing good that's gonna come about from it. You're attacking Martin Luther King and you still have a show? Are you serious?
Right.
Imagine if it was like any other community, like the Jewish community or the Hispanic community. Why is this being allowed?
So
I want to know if she still has a show. Why are we not reporting this? This is straight up hate speech.
No doubt.
Is it okay? It's okay now to speak hate speech against black men openly with no consequences.
No, I totally agree.
I'm sorry, TKC. Go ahead.
No, you're cool, brother. Do you have a particular question that you want to ask her as it relates to black male worship and love, honor, and respect? Do you have a question you want to ask her? A particular question?
I really don't have any questions. I think she's just on point. There's nothing really for me. I agree with pretty much everything she said.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think she's on point, and it's good to see that we still have sisters that support us.
Well, I love you all. We need you, and hopefully more women, will start to look within themselves, because you can only be if they decide that they want to live, and they're tired of existing and being miserable. So, if they really want to work on themselves and thrive and become the best, the best women that they can't do it without introspection and without the black man.
No doubt. And how can I say it? It's really sad, Miss Woodley, because so many men are devoid of this basic feminine affection and respect that when they do get a small vestige of it, it appears as something very alien. Where in other cultures, it's just normal.
I have come across that. I have realized that.
Right. Miss Woodley would be just a regular sister in other countries because they all personify what she personifies. So, but men are so devoid of getting affection that if they just get a little bit of it, it's like OMG, and they lose their minds because they're not used to it. And it's sad because, men don't ask for much. They just want a small amount. Go ahead, Turner. Actually, Mr. Turner's of Michigan State. He went to Michigan State, Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Yeah. He got his master's from Michigan State.
Go Spartans, go Spartans.
Yeah, yes. She went at Michigan State. Real quick, Avery got about 5 minutes. Did you want to
I
ask
can
her a
stay off
question?
of my Spartan, for my fellow Spartans.
She can stay off her Spartan. All right, go ahead, Mr. Turner. You want to ask Avery a question as it relates to black male worship and also love, honor, and respect.
Yeah, real quick though. I got all my questions out because I thought that she was going to have to go, so I ended up doing it in the comments section, and give, which I don't mind subscribing to. But anyway, the only thing that I wanted to know, Avery, was I noticed you said that you haven't been on the web for a while, and I've recently subscribed to your channel. What I would like to know is what is the theme or the thesis of your platform, and also how are you being received by other women? Are you getting a lot of pushback? Are women agreeing with you? Are they coming after you with hate mail and stuff like that? What do you think about that?
Okay, so the theme or thesis of, because I have been off YouTube just for like 2 weeks, is same team. And I say that a lot. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on there more. I just took a couple, it was kind of like out of respect too, right? I know I could have talked about other topics, but the stuff with, Mr. Samuels did kind of upset me. And the more I read stuff, I was like, I'm just gonna step back for just, like a couple weeks or whatever, out of respect for that. But it's same team, and it's basically we win together or lose apart, right? So together we win, divided we fall type of thing. I started saying that to my children years and years ago. And what it comes down to is that at the end of the day, we may not always see eye to eye. We may get into it, but we are on the same team. We have the same goal. We want the best for each other, and we have to collectively have each other's backs and be together if we want to go far. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. When it comes to men and women, and specifically Black men and women, we're stronger together.
That's a
hands
fact.
down. There's no, why do you think they try to keep us divided? Why do you think that the people, like somebody said something about like B. Simone, or people that are doing this hate speech, why is it allowed? Because it's tearing down a Black man. This could be a woman of color tearing down a Black man. Why do they allow certain men to say things? You know what I'm saying? Anything that is going to keep us divided, that is going to keep us at each other's necks, that is going to keep our families and our homes broken, they are going to allow. And my whole thing is that we're not in competition. We should be in collaboration. The Black man is not my enemy. The Black man is not going to bring me down. When I am paired with the right Black man, whether it's in business or in a professional relationship, I then am able to operate at my highest self. Yes, I am good. I am whole, but I am better, and I can be my best when I am aligned and joined with the Black man, right? And vice versa. So there's nothing like when a Black man has a good Black woman by his side. You know what I'm saying? That has his back and that loves and respects him. He feels like he can take on the world.
Yes.
So that's where same team came from. And then what was your other question? I'm sorry, I was talking.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering, with your message, how are you being received by other women when it comes to your platform and that kind of thing?
Okay, so it's crazy. I do get the support of women, but if I looked at the numbers, right, I can look at the numbers on YouTube. I have looked at the numbers on Instagram. The majority of my support obviously comes from men. I do get hate stuff from women. But that's the thing. I don't want to forget, like, the few women that support me, out of however many thousands, it may be a few, but those are the ones that are like, yes, because of you, I didn't know healing was an option. Because of you, I want to connect to my femininity. Because of you, I've worked on my posture and my stance. When my man comes in the room, and instead of me standing in front of him and bringing up a problem, I sit down and I lean back into the couch and then address him and say, hey, babe, I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z, right? So if a few women get it and it helps them heal, it helps them love, it helps them forgive, it helps them find new love, it helps them do whatever, then that lets me know that I'm doing the right thing, right? And I'm going to stay the path. It does. I do get the hate. I do get the pick me. I do get, who are you to say whatever and you're divorced? Exactly. Right. So, and it's not just that, but like I came about a lot through trial and error. Right. And that's why I use myself as an example. I'm not talking about anything that I have not been through and that I have not worked on with myself or with clients. I got a lot of hate when I put out my last little snippet about Kevin Samuels. got a lot of love and support, got a lot of hate from women on Instagram and on YouTube, private messages as well, that were, how could you support someone like that? Because, you're this, you're that, you're garbage, all that kind of stuff. You're a pygmy. And I'm like, oh, sometimes I respond back, oh, I've never heard that before. So unique. But for the few with all the hate, but for the few that are like, I healed, I listened to something, and I'm working on my healing, I'm working on my forgiveness. That's all that matters, and for the men who are like, you give me hope. I didn't know women like you existed, and not perfect, right? Like the culture collection say, you could go to these other countries and you can find these women who do respect and honor and love their men. No, it doesn't mean that we're perfect.
Go Africa.
By no means. None of us are perfect, but it means that we are trying. It means that we can water you. It means that we can speak life into you and not death. We're not going to use our mouths and our words to tear you down, but to lift you up. So, when I hear that from men, it lets me know that, all of this was not in vain. And when I hear from women that none of it is in vain, and I'm just going to keep building. Noah had to build, people that believe in this story of Noah, he built the ark before the rain ever came.
Right. And you are building the ark, but the antediluvians are trying to tear you down. But we're gonna be like Nehemiah. You're gonna stay on the wall. You can't come down. Tradition versus modern. Did you have a question real quick before?
Go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Avery, so question, by the way, when did you start your content, and how long were you? When did you become a single mother? If I can ask that question.
So I started my content on YouTube December of, I don't know. Was it December of 2020? It was right after Kevin Samuels did that Average at Best, right? So I haven't been on YouTube long. I've been a coach and a trainer for some years. I kept a lot of my work private just because that's just the way I operated. So I was like on, the platform as far as Instagram and stuff like that. And then as far as like a fitness trainer, I've been doing that for years, and a personal coach for some years now as well. And then a single mother. It's funny, and I know I don't really label myself as a single mother, even though I know I'm a single mother, right? Because I'm not married. Right. And the only reason is because I see a lot of this like single mom this, single mom that, and a lot of the single mom stuff I see, they're like against men. And I know that sounds crazy. It's like they're anti-men, and I'm not. So, but as far as like divorce, I've been divorced a few years now. Great relationship down as far as like co-parenting and, being like almost kind of like being friends, for the children and stuff like that, and really working together and making sure that we are both able to operate at our highest selves. You know what I'm saying? Giving each other that space to be the mother and father that we need to be. It's been for a few years, but I'm definitely not doing it on my own, at all. So, yeah.
And let me just follow for a few years. Okay, gotcha. So a follow-up question to that: when did you get the awareness of things we as a culture is not talking about? When did you start realizing that? Before, were you a mother, or was it after you was already going through your stage as a mother with your children? When did you learn knowledge?
I think I was aware of it, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It didn't really hit me as hard until I actually joined certain platforms, right? Until I became more vocal with certain things, and I was able to come out of my own space, right? So once I healed and really started to work on myself, my blinders were off, so to speak. And I was able to kind of like sit back and separate myself from a lot and see even things and patterns that I was realizing within my own home when it came to myself as a woman and my boys and stuff that they had seen and all of that. And then obviously, once I started to talk about it more openly on various platforms, and some of the pushback I was receiving and some of the love I was receiving, I was like, damn, like this is a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a huge problem. I honestly was not aware of a gender war until I got on or whatever, so to speak. And that many of us were at, that so many people were like at odds, not just within their own personal homes, but just with any man. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just see, as a black woman, if you just see a black man walking down the street, that you could just turn your face up at him and you don't even know him. but instantly you see him as a black man, so you're like, oh, he's no good, you know? So I would say probably like the last few years, even more, I'm like, wow, like I see why my voice is needed, you know? And not to sound like overly whatever, you know, I'm coming from a humble place because I didn't want to speak about certain things at first on YouTube, right? Because I felt like I was going to be attacked, and it may have been like a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I was like, wait a minute, are people going to receive my messaging? Are people going to want to hear how I'm talking about women need to hold themselves accountable? And I am a divorced woman, right? But it comes from personal, you know, a lot of stuff comes from personal and professional experience, and that's why I'm here. You know, it's like, go forth and speak, go forth and use yourself, be an example, you know, be genuine, be open, be transparent, because women and men need to see you and need to hear from you. And women need to see and hear on the things that you've worked on. So, you know, if that answers your question somewhat. Hope it did.
Makes sense. Thank you, Culture. Thank you, Aubrey. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
No doubt. Avery, I know you got to go. I'm gonna let you go. James, no final questions. I know she has to go. She got to work.
Does somebody have a last question? We
No
can
problem.
do one more. You want to do
No
one
problem.
more?
James, she said you can do one more, brother. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So were you able to, well, I think you answered my question as far as you atoning with your ex-husband.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how many children you have. Well, let me ask this. When it comes to your son, and do you have any daughters?
Yes.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay. So when it comes to your son and daughter, and real briefly, what do you tell, are you starting to equip them? Well, I'm not sure their age too, but are you starting to equip them about relationships and how to deal with the opposite sex? And what are some of the things that, you know, that you tell them, first the boy and then the girl?
So I have 3 boys. Well, I just left one of them's graduation party so I could do this. My bonus. I don't like saying stepson, but my stepson, I have him, and then I have 2 more boys, a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, and then a 7-year-old girl. So I do actually, and, you know, age appropriate, right? And I think I've said this before. So just to give an example, for my daughter, when it comes to, like I say, like in the kitchen, right? She will help put up the groceries sometimes. The boys may, and it seems small, but it's important, right? Even though I can carry certain stuff in, the boys are like, you know, I'm like, no, you all bring the groceries in. You know, Gabby, my 7-year-old daughter, she'll help put them up if she sees me cooking. Obviously, like, I don't let her just stand over the stove, but she'll set, and it's so funny, she'll set the table for her brothers. Sometimes she wants to help put their food on their plate, and, you know, they're like, I don't want her touching my food, you know, and that's just gonna be, and I'm like, no, first of all, we're not saying because I don't want her to stop, you know. And it sounds, some people might say that it's not a big deal, but it is. These are little things that start at home. So when they see her, you know, make the table, I'm like, you guys acknowledge the fact that she made the table. They're like, oh, Gabby, thank you, because I want her to know that they appreciate her serving them, right? When it comes to little stuff like them opening the doors for her, and, you know, and walking behind her, not, you know, run into the house and she's left outside, that kind of little stuff. I'm showing them how to show up. But when it comes to relationships, I am very open with my kids, and I talk to my boys. You know, we've talked about relationships. They know about their worth. They know that, yes, you know, they should, you know, love women. They should treat women right. But also, like the kosher clinician said, that, hey, you cannot give and treat women like this and do all of these things and you're not getting it back, right?
Right.
That positive reinforcement with the negative reinforcement. I am completely against that. They know that in relationships, it takes 2.
Takes 2, no doubt.
It takes 2. And then I also talk to my boys, though, about accountability, right? I talk to my daughter about it as much as she can. So even if my boys are getting into an argument or they have something, and, for example, the 11-year-old may start off with, well, she did this or he did that. I'm like, whoa. You know, and at first they get upset. Well, you don't care what they did. But first I want to hear what you did. Explain the situation. What did you do or what did you not do? How did you respond to it? What could you have done differently? Because I want them to know what it's like to take accountability. I want them to know how to give and, you know, love and all that, but what it feels like when they receive it, what it looks like, right? So now they see me and their fathers and they see how we work together. and how we applaud each other and how we have each other's backs. And they see that it goes both ways, right? It's not one person operating at a deficit and one person constantly pouring into the other person and they're depleted and they have nothing left to give.
Okay. Okay.
They've seen us, at some of our rock bottoms, I would say, and they have seen how we have healed and how we have recovered and how we continue to evolve. And we have these conversations. I had a kid in college and my ex-husband had a kid in college, and the kid that I had in college, his father was like, dude, he was like, we have come so far. You know what I'm saying? He's like, we have come so far. He said, I wouldn't be the man that I am and the father that I am now if it wasn't you giving me the space to do that. Right. And my kids, they hear these conversations and we let them see this because they need to know what it's like when a Black man and a Black woman can come together and when they can heal and when they can work together, and how powerful it is, how strong the family unit is, and how nobody will miss a beat because at any turn we have each other's backs, So
Okay.
I'm showing them all of that.
Okay. Well, I thank you, and go Michigan State. Thanks.
Yes, go Spartans.
Go Spartans.
He said the Spartans, man. Don't forget about the greatest state in the union.
Anyway, go
Tar Heels,
Spartans.
man. Don't forget about them Tar Heels.
Go Michigan State.
Yep.
Tar Heels. But Miss Woodley, it's been an honor coalescing with you on tonight, man. As I said earlier, I love your kindness, your candor. I love your wisdom. I love your wherewithal. I love all of it. You've done an awesome job trying to bring clarity to these very timely discussions. And like I said, man, you are a breath of fresh air. That song said, the wind beneath my wings, man.
Thank you. I am honored. I am humbled to be back on your show. And I hope you have me back again. I absolutely love it.
No doubt, no doubt. Sister, you will get a red carpet. You get the red carpet, man. But we will be talking, man. And if you're ever in the Tar Heel State, look me up. But
sure.
we will be talking at some point. I made some pointers about physical fitness and physical wellness. I know you're a personal trainer.
Yes.
And also, before you end the show, any final remarks before you leave? Any final remarks? And we're going to sign off, guys.
Yes, so I do want to repeat what I had this conversation with a man, and I was like, what do you need from a woman? You know what I'm saying? What do men need from a woman? And this is somebody, he's a business owner, what people would consider, a high value man or an alpha man. He said, and I think I mentioned it earlier in the show, he was like, respect. I want to be, taken care of as far as like fed. I want to have food in my belly. And he was like, and I want my woman to help me release. I need sexual pleasure. I need that intimacy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, I'm going to tell you first, you can't now, I'm not talking about all men, but you're a man. Give it up. You got to give it up. It's healthy. It's beneficial. But no, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want your needs met, you got to meet his needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cycle. He can't continue to meet your needs if you're not meeting his needs. You meet his needs, he'll meet your needs. You meet his needs, he'll meet your needs. That's how it goes.
Well, you get it. And as I said, I appreciate your honesty. You talked about a lot of recovering and how you had to change as a woman. Yes. And I'm glad you're doing the work spiritually, socially, mentally, physically. You're doing the work. And
thank you.
Some will get it, but as I said earlier, you got to be like Nehemiah. You got to stay on the wall. Don't come down. Some women will get it. It's a remnant. As I said earlier, it's definitely a remnant. It's not a lot, but I just don't understand the mental pathologies with a lot of these women. But actually, I do understand it. It's spiritual, and it's rebellion. And sadly, many will come to their own demise. Yes. Many will come to their own chagrin because they fail to understand the importance of men and women together, black or white, and how that impacts not only them but also a community. Because I feel that the current community, Ms. Woodley, is dead. It's stagnant, it's repugnant, it's faltering. I'm going to ask you this question before I let you go. Mm-hmm. Is there a black community? And if not, how many generations do you think it's going to take for us to come back into full circle?
There's not a black community. There's a conditional totally black community.
Yes.
There's a conditional black community. I think you've heard me say this. If somebody ends up being a hashtag, there's a black community. Mm-hmm. If we're going to attack something, attack somebody else that did something, it's like there's a black community. We choose when we want to love and support and respect each other. It's conditional. And in order for it to be unconditional and for there to be a black community, I don't know how many generations is going to take. I don't know if it is going to continue to take something, like you said, the demise and something detrimental. A lot of times we don't know what we need until it's gone. And I talked about, like giving it up or whatever. But before that, we have to realize that we need each other. We need the Black woman. We need, and just in general, we need Black men, but we need men. The world is lying. Society is lying to you women that you don't need men. You do.
You do, right.
You needing a man does not mean you cannot get an education, does not mean you can have a job. It just means that we need men. They have a space. They have a place. They would not have been created if the world did not need them. It's part of the nature, it's part of evolution. We need men.
I totally agree. We definitely need men.
We got to take care of them. Just like we take care of everything else, we got to take care of them.
Right. As it relates to building civility, as it relates to, because some say I don't need a man. You might not need a man for sex, but you do need a man, and you actually need it for sex too, because many use the apparatuses that men created for pleasure. But also when it comes down to like structures, when it relates to like civil engineering, I would say about over 90%, over 95% of the infrastructure that we have was created and used by men. Most women don't want to go build skyscrapers and
the highways and the cars that we drive, and the nail salons we go into.
Right. The cell phones too. Men created that. Men create the physical world, but women create the home. And that's what women don't understand, that when the two come together, you can have even bigger and greater communities. And, Ms. Woodley, some don't understand that, that men are at their best when women understand what their purpose is. I was saying last night with the sister security boss, I was saying that she was made for him, according to the scripture. She was made to help him meet his mission on earth. And when she helps him become the better version of himself, if he's a righteous man, then he's going to help her become the better of herself.
Absolutely.
And many times in the form of resources and legacy, and legacy. And she becomes part of that because she poured into him. I like what you said earlier. She poured into him, but sadly, many times in America, they're not pouring back into those men. And that's why men are beginning to travel abroad. Men are getting wives from other countries, or they're just staying single, sitting on the sideline because they're saying that the current modern woman just don't get it. And like I said, you get a standing ovation, man. You get it. You get it. And, many times in these spaces, Mr. Willard, they always wonder, okay, is she real? Is she fake? Is she a chameleon? I think you're genuine. I think you're a good sister. I don't think you're perfect. I think you're trying. But that's why a lot of men are weary when women come into men's space, because they don't know, are they real? Are they fake? Are they just trying to more or less get fame? And I don't think that's you, because you don't even really stream on YouTube. You're not doing anything with YouTube. When Kevin reached out to you, you could have used Kevin as a prompt to make money, like so many have. And I'm not going to call any names. Right, you could have ran with it and did reaction videos. You could have been at 100,000 easy, but that lets me know that you're not clout chasing. And if you were, it's nothing wrong with it, because YouTube is about content strategy.
Right.
We all are trying to grow if we take this thing serious. But but like I said, you could have ran away with it, but you did. You post sporadically, and so that lets me know that you're not in it necessarily for even if you were for the fame.
It's just hard for me, because it's so important. It's hard for me to get on here and to stream and do certain things when my heart, when my heart's heavy, or when I feel that something has been disrupted, right? So like I said, when it came to KS, that's why I've been off for a couple of weeks. I was like, let me just take a step back, because I didn't want to get on there and operate out of anger. I didn't want to get away from my messaging and from what I'm trying to do as far as men and women, and realizing that we need each other. So like I said, I put myself out there as much as I can, I talk about my F-ups, where I've gone wrong, where I continue to go wrong, what I've worked on. And I feel like that's the only way for me to really, from me as myself, is to make a change, is that I can't be an image and be impactful. I've tried it before. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't make an impact when I was just the image. I had to open up my heart. I have to bear myself. The tears that I hated to shed, the scars, all of that, it was for a reason. And it was for, it is making me who I am. And it's to be an example and to help other people heal and evolve and come together.
Well, you're doing an awesome job, man, and much love and blessings to you. I'm gonna let you go, dear. I know you got to get ready for work in the morning, but
Yes.
thank you again for coming in on the show.
Bye.
We definitely be seeing you again, dear. So take care. Have a good night.
All right. Everybody have an amazing week.
Take care, sis. Be good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was a talented and lovely Miss Averi Woodley. She's about to sign off, guys. I'm going to sign off in a minute. If there's anyone else that want to ask me a question, feel free to come on. But if not, it's been a very timely discussion as it relates to black male worship. And so, guys, this has been another great stream. If you guys have a question for me, feel free to pop in and have a conversation. Shout out to Tim Howard. Shout out to Top Gun. Shout out to all the others. Shout out to Mr. Miles for being the sponsor of the stream last night, James Miles, and tonight. Shout out to James Turner and everyone that donated on the stream. I really appreciate you guys as we seek to bring balance in a time when things are very turbulent. So, guys, we're about to sign off. Make sure you get your mental health taken care of. And I'm going to run this show real quick, this commercial real quick, guys, and we're going to be signing off as it relates to mental health. We'll be bringing more content at some point. But I got to take care of my physical and mental health as well. YouTube and content creation, I love helping out brothers, but it can be very draining at times. So once again, guys, I love you guys, and get your mental health taken care of. Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well.
Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took a L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I'm my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was faking, had to find me. Now I'm on beat skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like, whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right. Now I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. I was starving, now I'm eating till my belly full. From up north, we get cold, you need a heavy coat. Scared to end up on a shirt before a centerfold. Devil on my back, target on me, deadly too. Play the keys, don't tweet. It's my peace, don't speak. 24, no sleep. This is real, no tweet. My bros for life, can't break this link. Family on my side, baby stay around me. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. Want that combo, better know you'll need a check from me. Can pay to play, the sun and still won't get a cent from me. I mix the fit up with the sound like it's a remedy. I mix it up inside the pot, watch it drip while it drop. Time to take it to the top. Chips all in the middle like it fall, no I won't flop. We gon' pop like a soda can top. To me this is nothing, call my bluff and I won't stop when I flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I want the checks, yeah. I don't want the second, I want best. I want best, yeah. By any means, that's a triple threat. A triple threat. Yeah, this is getting bigger, I might flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best. I'm all in my